All right. Hello, everyone. Whoever's on. Hello, Kay. All right. I get to put on some finishing touches on this scene right here. I was trying to bow this so it can't be catching so much of this glare, but I think it's just so big. My lights coming from the left and right side. I mean, it just can't help but get in that glare, so I can't really give a really good indication of what this looks like in its entirety from left to right. So, hello, Tammy. How are you this afternoon? All right. Yeah, I just cannot get the. We're gonna get glare here, so there's just no other way around it. I'll be working on it like in this center area right here, or something like that. But all right, forgive the glare. Can't help that. All right, where we are on this piece right here is we. In looking at this piece right here, what occurred to me when I was working on it yesterday, hello Beth, was that it needs textural variety. Okay, now I do that anyway, but I think it's especially so on something like this, especially when I don't have a really formal or obvious, maybe is the better word, focal point. When you put something in here like a boat or something like that, it's going to garner a lot of attention, a word stamp or something like that, which I could still do. But I just thought on this one, I don't know, I want to make it I don't know, the nature, structure, imagery, etc. Hello, CM Hawkins. Hello, Tammy. So let's go for some variety. I was wondering, speaking of that textural variety, I was wondering if I want to go with the 3mm paint pens on this one. I just wasn't quite sure. Every time I use those, it's always a little bit. Just the notion of it is a little bit daunting, even though they do blend in just fine. But I don't know, when you think about something this large, it's like, okay, that's going to require a lot of it for that textural continuity. But maybe in some areas I can use that, like a large 3mm paint pen. If you've seen me use those before in previous videos, they are rather large, but I think it would give this, I don't know, just some sort of textural, I don't know, not a focal point, but just, I don't know, textural variety. We need something in here just apart from that. So, and then I was looking at some areas up in here. These are the areas that I really want to bring in some of that white pigment ink, to give that whole area kind of a better flow, instead of having it kind of sky, mountains, clouds, and the I don't know, tree kind of foundational imagery, row, water, and what I mean. I want a little bit of a blending of all of those areas, not completely together. I'm not going to blend in this to this up here, but just I want a little bit more continuity in here, and just something that's going to be a little bit more of a, and I guess you can say, if they, maybe a subtle kind of visual that's happening within these pieces. You want, this is such a big piece. You want your viewer to be able to kind of enjoy all of these pieces, right? All of these different areas in here, just because of the sheer scale of it. They can enjoy something in its entirety, but just from the sheer size of this, you really want to give your viewer kind of an excuse to check out these different areas within the space. So, yes. Hello, Annie. I wasn't checking the scroll here. Tammy, everyone else that has joined in here. Hello to those that that don't post, thanks for joining in. All right, so let's just get right on into it. You're going to see me taking some areas in here in my coloring process that, it's not going to look good as that process in itself, but I'm going to be doing certain things in here that hopefully, as is always the case, will kind of come together with the finishing touches, okay? So specifically starting off with this right here, I added some violets and what was that, deep lilac color in the certain areas, and they're really, really subtle, but it gave us a kind of a good, start to that hue and kind of color change. But it needs some variation in there, maybe some variation in intensity, value. Intensity, remember, is the relative brightness of something. Value is the relative light and darkness of something. So yeah, just something like that. And then, I don't know, I tend to do all of that type of thing. And then I kind of mute it out in certain areas where it just kind of gets a little bit too extreme in some areas. And when I say extreme, I'm just talking about relative to the piece. So anyway, that being said, all right, alcohol pens, okay? And I like these because there's different values of them. There's so many different values of these markers these days. Or, I don't know about these days, but that have been around for quite some time. All right, so just going in here, I'm going to be reiterating a lot of applications where I've added in the dye-based ink versions of it too. So, and then when I just get darker, I'll switch up a little bit. Everything got pretty dark in here, so I'm being mindful of that, because where you use the white pigment ink, you usually want to add it into areas where it's a little bit, there is some white, or at least a little bit of lightness. I went a little bit overboard on this one, probably just because of the sheer scale of this, but anyways, let's just start with that, okay? All right, so you can see that little tint that's being applied in here, okay? And that is a really safe kind of a process to start light and work darker, okay? CM, hopefully it is not too, well, actually it would be a more fun ride if it was a little bit kind of precarious and exhilarating. I'm kind of working in a very kind of conservative way with this, barely darker, kind of application of this. But let's see what happens here. I'm kind of curious to be taken on the ride myself. All right, so see that purple in there? I mean, that's, it's a little bit more of what I'm looking for right now. We're going to go more here. All right, you can even do little kind of applications in your water. If you do that, just kind of take a nice light stroke, with your, little swishy kind of marks like that, especially in your light tones, okay? There's a lot of comments on my pieces all the time that you make it look so easy, okay? I use easy processes. I've seen other people in live streams at times, and there are certain things that people do and that look great, okay? But there are a lot more kind of bold marks sometimes. Or, I don't know, they're just certain processes that I've kind of distilled and kind of removed some processes. Just based on experience. So if you do something you have to blend it in a little bit more. I've tried to remove all of those different types of things, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer, seemingly, but it takes less time because I'm not doing like repair work or something like that on it. So start light and then work darker, in terms of your applications. Then you don't have to kind of fix something later or something like that, okay? Okay, so that was... I don't know what color that was. This one's a little bit brighter though, see that right there? This is the other one. It's a little bit duller. This one's a little bit of a brighter pink right there. Okay, so see, I'm just working it as I go. And again, I'm applying this with the notion that I'm going to be muting some of these, okay? Yeah. All right, alcohol pens on glossy, just for accent, not to color. Yeah, pretty much, I mean, if I have large areas like this, Kay, or candy. This is just, I don't want to, see, I don't want to color this whole thing in with alcohol. That's a ton of, and then you can't layer alcohol inks like you can with dye-based inks. Dye-based inks work by staining. Alcohol inks that I applied, the reason you can blend them together is because they're a little bit more surface oriented than you go in with your blender pen and you can blend them out. Well, dye-based inks are soaked into the pulp of the paper. But that's a good question there, you know. You just can't layer 6, 7 layers of alcohol inks. So I use it for kind of my more detailed areas. It's a perfect application for these things. And especially when you're using them in conjunction with dye-based inks, you know, for the most part, I mean, if I'm going over some black in here and it's really dry, and then there's some residual of black ink on the surface, I might go on with this and streak into it, and it could drag out some of the drier, you know, residual ink that is on the surface that didn't stain by absorption. So you can go into these, and it's not really physically mixing with the dye-based inks, you know, for the most part, you know, because alcohol and water don't mix. So anyways, hello Jen. Hello Linda, good to see you. How's the weather where everyone's at? If it's extremely hot, does that affect the types of scenes that we do? Curious, from a psychological, you know, point. I mean, when it's winter time, and maybe you're kind of getting tired of winter, it's going on into spring. Are you stamping out kind of tropical scenes, you know, with a warm kind of you know, body of water and a nice sunset? It's cooled down a little bit out here, but man, last week I was like, so hot. Okay, so that was a little bit of that pink. It's getting really purplish in there, but see, you have to do something. If you're going to be putting some of that white ink over the surface like that, you have to make it a little bit darker and maybe more intense with that in mind, because you're going to be muting some areas out with that white ink, dry ink coverage. All right, this is a little bit of that warm tone. This is apricot, you know. It's a little bit of a warm tone. And see, so we've created a little bit of this temperature change within that space right there. So, and it's kind of like the, what was that? You know, the antique linen. So it's kind of doing the same type of thing, but in very specific areas. So again, with that question, that, you know, more for accents or something like that. It could be for accents. I mean, you could do a wide coverage with, you know, these pens too, and it could be an entire base layer for that object in there. But I like to establish those things in a much faster way with dye-based inks, you know, in a wider application, you know. Paper towel like this is going to be so much wider of a surface like this when I'm applying this in here than, you know, a brush marker tip. Although, you know, you can use the brush marker, you know, it's on its side or something like that, but I don't know, you know, I mean, we could do something like this. I mean, if I used like a base layer of blue in this or something like that, my gosh, that would, I don't know, I think I would use a, I don't know, what do you guys think? It'd be like a fifth of this entire pen of ink probably, right? Maybe more, I don't know. I don't know, does everyone have like re-inkers for all of their alcohol markers? Warmish, but not as bad as it's been. That's the same thing for me, Kay. But I have a feeling that Southern California is in for a warm summer, not a mild one. I don't know, we'll see. Miserably hot and humid in Florida. I've only experienced that once, I think. I think I was out. I don't remember when that Orlando convention. What's the name of that Orlando convention that's been going on for like 20 years? That one happened, and then it was like, oh, okay, I can see what people mean by, what I've always heard of the humidity during certain times of the year there. And the other times I was out there, it was really mild. All right, going in here. I don't know if I could see very much of the, but again, I'm kind of establishing a little bit of a surface coverage with this, so that when I go in with other colors with the alcohol inks, we're building it up a little bit more. I don't know, can you kind of see that, that purple tinge up there? There's much more of a purple type of hue, visible hue up there. One of the things too that I was going to say is that we've retained a lot of the intensity up here. I thought, with this, when this was dry like this, when I was using a lot of those mementos, they can potentially really dry very dull looking. Kevin, you don't get humidity. What a change in different states. We do get humidity here during the summertime, for sure. It's not going to be anything like, other types of other states, though. So all relative. Hello, Beverly. You made it to New York City safely. Good news. Jeannie's in the car on the way home now. Where are you coming from, Jeannie? I've never had or used alcohol markers. It's a pretty good way to go, Donna. These are really great for... they're great for all kinds of things, coloring and everything. Hello, Diana. Hello, Froggy Fresh. Adding refill. Darcy's adding refills for the Copics. So you're probably adding the refills for your favorite colors, I take it. But Donna, one of those things, Copics are awesome, okay? They're the cream of the crop, in terms of pens, alcohol pens, but you can get, like, enormous sets. Here's an 88 set shuttle art. There's tons of different brands of those, for, like, 50 cents each when purchased in those sets like that. It's a good way to do it. Let's say you don't have them. You're mildly interested or curious about it, it's a good way to get like a ton of different pens just to see if you like it. You have a lot of different colors. They're not going to dry out, on your shelf or anything like that either. They shouldn't, okay? And then, I don't know, it's one of those things. If you do end up using them and, over time, and if you like them, if you do want to get other types of brands or ones with different tips, better tips, the 50 cents per tip, those ones, the shuttle arts, they have more of that fine tip. It's more of like a bullet tip like that, okay, than your brush marker tip like these. These ones aren't double-sided right here, but see like that? This one's firm and this one's hard, but these ones like this that go in these sets also have this chisel tip, which I hardly ever use. But yeah, the alcohol pens, there's so many different versions and varieties of them these days. And I use them a decent amount for my piece. And I really like the ones that have a lot of really faint value ones, because I can go in here and I can add in, see this light here? I can go in and add that slight warm tinge right there that I just did. It had a little of that antique linen in there, okay? But if you like it and you want a little bit more intensity, you know what I mean? Going in here and adding it in with a dye-based ink, I wouldn't say it's precarious because I always add it in a very light and dry brush type of application of it, but there's all these colors like this, too, that are just in pen form. They're inherently, very light in value. They can be warm, though, and you can get that type of element or quality that you want from these colors that are just inherent in the pens. And you just add them in kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say carefree, but, almost. And then if you add them in, like, you know, here's a super light blue here. Okay, we're not going to be able to see this, but if you add it in like this, you know, and you just want to fill in some white areas, but you don't want to go in there with, you know, your dye-based inks, you can do it with this, and it's one of those things you can do this right here, and you can't see it at all, so you just kind of work up, you know, the value scale into incrementally darker ones until you get to the one that you want, and it's visible, and it's just a little bit darker than the one you want. If it's too dark, you can take your alcohol pens. Let's say I add a blue, dark blue area in the shadows, right in this blue area right there. If it's too blue, you can go in with a lighter one and just blend it right out. So, or you can blend it with the blender pen, you know. I don't use my blender pen too often though. Prismacolor alcohol markers, good, good. And you like them, Rocky Fresh? And harder to find when compared to you guys. Well, I would check around, check on Amazon or something like that, and see what the price is per pen there. You know, like these ones right here. I'm sure they're all coming from China or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they're all coming out of like the same factory. Like I always said with the tell people with the acrylic paint pens, the construction of them is all the same. The barrel might have a different color to it, but the mold is the same. So I'm almost sure they're coming out of the same factory. And the factory just markets them under different brand names, or they sell them, you know, to other manufacturers that aren't manufacturing them, but they're just branding them under different names or something like that. So like the Artistro ones have a clear barrel, but the nib and everything like that, the construction of it is exactly the same as, you know, the Meowsen was, or, you know, whatnot. So, okay, but anyways, yeah, see this right here? Going in, and it's a little bit too dark here. Let me see. Let me try this one. Yeah, okay, so I don't know if you can see this right here, but seeing all these little shadow areas in here, within that ledge, I can go in like this and just reiterate that shadow area, so it's just a little bit more full of a rendering of that. Okay, so I've rendered all these different objects with tone and stippling, okay, but in rubber stamps you can't go grayscale, so it's all what they call line art. Everything is black or white, so if it looks like there's a gradation of it, it's because I've gradated, you know, that area from an illusion standpoint by having a higher concentration of dots in the darker area. But, okay, but I don't, you know, it's still not gray like this, okay? So you can go in and just reiterate what's going on in all those different areas like this. And like this one right here, this 88 set has a, I don't know, I'm looking at it right here. It looks like there's 15 different versions of gray in every value of it, but also in different temperatures of gray. So in an 88 set, there's warm grays, there's cool grays, there's neutral grays. It's 20% grays, 15, you know, 25, 80. I don't know if there's a 90%, but all those different versions like that. So you can do all this kind of fun rendering. I mean, it's not a huge change or anything like that, but again, you know, what I was mentioning is, you know, when you add these little touches like this, okay, and they're a little bit more detailed, or I don't know, like I said, if you give something like this to someone, I don't know if, you know, they're going to be able to decipher everything that you've done kind of on a, you know, kind of more detailed, you know, type of level. But I think the overall feeling of looking at it, you know, is going to be a little bit different. Maybe not if you just do one thing with one pen, but, you know, you do things with the pen like that, white pigment ink, white acrylic paint pens, it all cumulatively, I think, adds up to just kind of a, I don't know, just a more resolved whole, something to look at. I don't know, it's just a little bit more, I don't know. I hate to say realistic, but maybe realistic from a lighting standpoint when it comes to stuff like this. Spectrum Noir, there's that brand again. That I got to look into Spectrum Noir with that black ink and stuff like that, and check them out. £50 for about 30 pens, and again, no reinkers. Yeah, like these ones right here. These ones don't come with a reinker. Like, you know, these are 50 cents, you know, per pen. I think they're even cheaper now though, but they don't bother with reinkers. Okay, so let's see. You know, speaking of little subtle different types of things, you know, going along the water's edge right here. I don't see a big change, and I'm sitting right here, okay? But I think, like I said, cumulatively, I think all these different types of things kind of add up to a greater whole, you know. All right, so I'm putting a little bit of texture on these rocks too. You know, you get that kind of alcohol-y type of thing where it kind of builds up. You know, you put a little bit, if I applied this in a certain area like this, it tends to kind of, I don't know, spread out like that, and you get that alcohol ring, right? A lot of people don't like that, I think, because it's like, oh, too much texture. So a lot of times people ask, you know, in terms of alcohol inks, does it blend in? And what they're talking about is, does it just have a completely flat, even application, okay? And they gauge that in terms of, that's the sign of, I don't know, quality in terms of what they're looking for. For me, I go for, you know, I want that texture in there, okay? I don't know, that's just what I've associated with alcohol. You've seen those alcohol paintings where it's just like this amorphic type of thing, big area, and then it has that little ring on the outside. I like that, because you know, but I'm into texture though. But anyways, let me see if you can see where this has been applied here in the, okay, can you see that right there? I know this is out of focus, but it's right there. All right, right at the base of that. And this is what it looks like, that. Okay. Okay, yeah, you can see that little line right there. Okay, so what I do is I go in with stuff like that, and then I just go back in with my lighter one like this, and I just kind of blend that out a little bit. But like I said, I'm not going for like super blended, you know, invisible, seamless applications of that, because I just don't need that. I'm going to be adding in like white pigment ink around that area anyway, so yeah. So don't sweat that stuff, you know, if you get it. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about right here. So just applying kind of a large area like this right here, okay? And then, let's see if I can get it. Let me see if I can purposely get this right here, okay? But see those little rings there on the outer edge of these puddles that I'm kind of developing here? I'll try to create a puddle here. There you go, like that. See those types of things like that? I like that look. I think it has kind of a pseudo watercolory type of feel to it in some ways. Of course, alcohol inks dry much faster, but those little things like that, that's what I like, especially for like a textural area like in water. So we can see this kind of going on right here. And I think that looks good in water or on rocks too. You know, those are the different types of textural patterns that you see out in nature. So it's kind of conducive to get some of that going. And right here, here's a big blob of that alcohol ink, right? And look at this right here. You can just go right back in and see, I'm trying to create another kind of puddle within a puddle like that. Oftentimes, no, I don't know, I just eradicated it all, but you can just go back and forth with it. See that right here? I colored that, but now I'm going over the top of that with a lighter one, and look at this, I've illuminated this now, so you can manipulate things like that. And I like the ability to kind of go around in a circular pattern rather than from point A to point B in a linear one where you can't go back and remove things. A lot of things you can't remove. I can't remove like this tree here or something like that, physically remove it. I can obscure it with white pigment ink, but with alcohol inks, you know, you can go back. It affords you the ability to go in and remove some of it like that if you want to make it lighter. So here's this little illuminated rock right here, you know, catching some of that light. And I'm doing it with this blue right here. So if I went in with a clear, I can probably remove even more of it. Anyway, that's my take on alcohol inks. How often do you guys re-ink your alcohol pens? Do you ink them re-ink them a lot? Now, see, I don't use mine very much, so I've never had a dry alcohol pen yet. But again, it's just, you know, because I'm using mine kind of more as accents, like, you know, someone asked. I forgot who asked. Okay, I have a memory of like, I don't know, a couple seconds. Oh, yeah, look at that one right there. Look at how much lightness I was able to bring back in that. This is almost like this is a lighting pen. I don't see it as that. I'm removing more than I thought I could here. Oh my god, that's working really good. Look at that, though. Huh. That's kind of bizarre. Yeah, look at that. Look at those rocks in there now. They were completely, you know, obscured in there, but I don't know. Let me see. This is an alcohol pen, right? Not a bleach pen. I'm joking. It almost worked like that, though. But look at these rocks right here. How they're illuminated like that now. See that right there? I don't want them white or anything like that, but just that they're, you know, visible now. It's kind of nice. The brush end and nib. Yeah, the chisel tip. Yeah, Darcy. The cheaper ones chisel, you know, for me. But I was just using the chisel one right there. I don't know, it worked okay. I was, you know, getting a little bit more coverage. Let me lighten some of these areas up a little bit more. I don't know. It lightened up more than I thought. Okay, now watch this one right over here. See this rock down here? I can't see. Now this is the one that I'm not going to be able to see now that I want to demonstrate this. Oh, okay, it's working. That's kind of bizarre. It's almost like it's removing some of the dye-based ink. But, oh, okay, but see that little rock? I don't know, it's now visible. Let's see. Donna was pricing the Stays-On pad. The pad was about 15, oh my gosh. And then about the same, what the heck? No way, yeah, that's too much, Donna. What? I don't know. I'm not sure how many pounds the manufacturer suggested retail price would be there. It couldn't be that though, or close to that. I wouldn't think. Cotton paper. It absorbs a lot of ink, and you have to refill the markers more often. Yeah, the more absorbent a paper would be. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, shipping, you know, and it's all about kind of supply and demand. So, is Annie still on? Annie, I can't remember. Did you say that Imagine Crafts, they didn't get the Brilliance inks in, right? Yet, because I don't know if they canceled my back order or not. But, yeah, Brilliance inks were one that Imagine Crafts, the distributor for it. I'm trying my blender pen here, just out of curiosity to see if I can get that even lighter right there. But just out of curiosity. It's getting a little bit lighter on top of it, but not by much. Okay, now, like in here, too, like if you added too much, you know, alcohol ink, you can come back in here with your blender pen and kind of, if you wipe away in here like that, you can remove ink. I'm kind of curious if this would remove some of that. Okay, this isn't removing the dye-based ink in the water area. The water area looks like it's stained. Shipping prices are ridiculous. I don't think, I mean, that's happened a lot over the past several years. I know the thing that I was highly aware of were U.S. postal prices, especially when it came to international priority. Oh my God, that was going up by sometimes like 30% in one price increase. And then the following year, it went up another 30% on top of that. I remember it was just shocking. Yeah. And so I always say, if someone's international and they're ordering from me, I have it on my website, but no one reads this. You know, I probably have too much, dialogue on that page, but it's like, the shopping cart is set for, although I just altered it for smaller orders, where I just ship it out first class, but it's just like, just order by email and just tell me you want first class. Priority mail, there used to be a trick to international orders, like if like a wholesale client was ordering from us, the medium flat rate box was a lot more than the envelopes. So if you shipped out an order in 2 envelopes, you can really save that client a lot of money. But they made it the 2 envelopes the exact same price as the medium flat rate box to most areas. In Canada, it didn't used to be, quite so extreme, but that also went up by quite a bit. But that was about 3 years ago, though. Or maybe it's been longer, I don't know. All right, so going in with this, what is this right here? Cool Gray 3, whatever that means. Annie, I don't think so. Yeah. Oh, okay. Maybe you told me that, Annie. So you just canceled your Imagine Crafts order, is it? It's kind of weird. The Brilliance inks are more available in the UK. I wonder if the UK, if they're the distributor for Sukaneko or something like that, where people are ordering from. I feel for anyone, all of you, if any of you are on there, in areas, especially if you don't have convenient access to, the supplies you're going after. I've had clients in, South Africa, like say for example, or Switzerland, not a lot of stores, retail stores. I'm talking about in years past too. New Zealand and Australia, you couldn't even mail anything there for a while because of lockdowns. They wouldn't take anything except for Priority Express. There were other, UPS and I think DHL were delivering there, and in some places like that, but you get availability like that, and on top of that, the shipping prices. So I don't know. I thought we need like some kind of people kind of, I don't know, where they can order together or something like that and split those shipping fees on those international destinations. Let's see, going on with let's see, what color is this? I don't know if it says. Blue-gray. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. If you can consolidate Froggy Fresh, like to New Zealand or whatever. So, like, I think I was mentioning in a previous video, some of those people buying stuff. They were buying Stampscapes or something like that. And, this is a small community, so, you get to know, customers and whatnot, and like I've said, I've sent people out like reams of glossy cardstock or something like that, so you can just get, they can get a bunch of things that they can't get out there. I'm talking about, that just aren't available at all in their locations, just to I don't know, make it easier for them to get it, so they're not like paying like the same, you know, the same shipping fees from 3 different places, especially if they can all fit in the same parcel. All right, so anyways, I'm just going along here. I don't know, I haven't used some of these pens in a while, and I'm using them kind of more extensively here. Look at this one's going to be fairly dark right here. So let's see how this goes. $3 to $4 in postage. Wait, oh, $21. Oh, I didn't read the bottom of yours. Are you talking about first class? That sounds like a first class type of thing for about a, I don't know, maybe a 3 or maybe a 5 ounce, 6 ounce type of thing. Huh. If you, the magic number when it comes to first class to international destinations, it seems to be at the 3 ounce level. If you can send it 3 ounces or less, it seems really quite reasonable. But as soon as you get above that, it's all about the thickness of the parcel or card that you're sending, the dimensions of the envelope. If you can stay within that letter size and 3 ounces, I don't know. I'm pretty surprised at how reasonable it can be. All right, this is getting. I don't like this one right here, but see where I'm using it. You know, like I said, it's really dark like that. So I'm adding it in my shadow areas like this, but it's a little bit too much. I'm not worried about it though, because we can blend it out though, you know. So sometimes what you do is you add this in there. You can get a blob of, a little blob of that ink. And then what you do is you go in with your lighter version of it. Like this. Okay, this is dry. I have all my pens sticking up like this. It looks like I probably should go on, you know, on that side. Okay, yeah, because, you know, my chisel point here is like completely flowing. So you get a little blob of that. And then you just take your lighter one and just kind of go in there and dissolve it a little bit. And then you kind of spread that around like that. So you get that intermediate version of that. Okay, so see this one right here? That blob of, I don't know, whatever color gray that was. And then I'm going in and physically dissolving and spreading it around. As I say physically dissolving, sometimes it's like you dissolve it all and it's almost like you're erasing it. So you kind of have to kind of manipulate it a little bit and drag it around. Or you can get that thing where you just kind of put this, you add a bunch down like that and you get that little alcohol ring like that. And like, you know, again, I kind of like that look. I don't know if you can see it in here. It has like this little bleached out kind of look in there, and that's from that pink that I went over it with some other pen. Yeah. Yeah, the Netherlands. It does get very expensive. Hello, Cheryl. Good to see you. Hope all's well. Hope all's well with everyone. This is interesting. Okay, so I'm going in here. Do you see where that's kind of getting lighter like that? Let's put a little bit of light on that ridge and put a little bit of texture into it. All right, now I need to be careful about this, that I don't spend the next 45 minutes doing that little thing. But see that kind of ring going down there like that? It's because I'm developing that puddle and it's kind of like bleeding out like that. I can watch it kind of physically move like that. But see those little textures like that? I think that looks good in an area. And then couple it with the fact that it's slightly lighter up there and getting a little bit darker right there. But, you know, I mean, this is a very textural design up here. So these types of little things like this, you know, can add to it. So let me put a little bit of light on that ridge like that. And like I said, this is just a gray right here. I mean, you can do it, you can use your blender pen or something like that. But see now, see that little ridge is a little bit lighter like that. So again, you know, that's something that's pretty fun to do for me. Because it's nice to be able to go in and add a lighter element. In this case, it's kind of removing and revealing the lighter base again, like that. Rather than just something being a completely additive type of process. It's just the ability to go in there. So you see that little ridge line right there? It's kind of capturing some light like that. Oh, you added, you ordered mounted from Canada. Yeah. I wonder if that was Scrap and Bean. They had a large range of the wood-mounted stamps, if it was them. See this right here? I want to get this mountain a little bit lighter right in here. Let's see if we can make that stand out a little bit more. It's kind of weird doing this kind of subtractive process. I don't know. It's removing some, or it's lightening up some of these inks right here. And it's not because we're adding gray and it's sitting on the surface over the top of something, because these are transparent colors. So, I don't know. Like I said, nice to be able, it's almost like doing like specific little bleaching. All right, one of you is going to have to just invent a bleach pen, or would it be one of those pens that you can just fill up with water or something like that? And I guess you can put a little bit of some kind of bleaching element into it, diluted 50-to-1 bleach and water or something like that, where you can go in and just do that right over the top of this, because this is working pretty good. I mean, it's not like totally bleaching something out like super light, but I just feel that range in here has a little bit more variety now from having removed some of those inks that I've applied there with a, you know, a big, huge, you know, applicator like that. This is not about detail, but you can bring out some of those little details in here like that. Like that's lighter. I mean, I left it a little bit lighter, but I've removed some of these areas off those peaks in there. I don't know. So, learning something new all the time. Okay, let's see. I think we're ready to go in and add in some other types of media. Okay, so anyways, I don't know. I feel like this piece looks different than when we first started just by adding in those little detailed things down here. I'm looking at this right down in here, just with a little bit more definition. There's a little bit more variety throughout here. We have a little bit more intense, but not super intense. I don't want like neon pink up here or something like that. But I think that's about a good amount right there. I'm just trying to think if I should go a little bit more intense and darker in a couple of these areas just so it stands out a little bit more, but I think it's enough. And then we'll bring in and kind of further expand on this kind of cloudy area. And like I said, I was thinking about having some light beams in here, but I was looking at this later, or today, and I was thinking, I think I just want this kind of this cloud area to be creeping down into this, you know, kind of over the tops of these areas like that. And I think that maybe should do it in terms of a little bit of an added texture right in the back of here, where I've retained some of that lighter area, put some mist right in there, in the, you know, in front of some of these rocks right here. So let's just do it right here. Okay, so I was mentioning, if you were on here when I first started, I was thinking about those 3mm paint pens too. And if I was wondering if that would be too bold for some of these areas in here, but I think I could use some of it down here in this water in a fairly subtle way. Okay, so... Alright, so we're going to use, I'm going to try to use every one of these 42 pens on this scene. I'm joking. We'll use the white, maybe, I don't know. I probably haven't even used some of these colors in here, but here's a gray, a really super light gray. Or is it, wait, I don't want to use silver on that. Maybe that's silver right there. I think they have 2 silvers, okay. Yeah. This here's a blue-gray. You see, these Artistro ones have this clear barrel like this. And this was the Meowsen, okay? And it looks different, I know, because, but see, they just have this plastic wrap around there like that, but check this out, okay? See, it's the exact same barrel. This one's clear, and this one's solid, opaque, right? But let me see if I can show you this right here. Same exact cap format, you know, style, okay? But see, this barrel goes like right there. So this one's translucent, okay? And so is this. So they've just kind of oscillated that right there. Or not oscillated, but just switched that out. And the tip construction is exactly the same from this. So it's the same mold, so I'm convinced that it's just coming out of one factory, you know, in the same kind of area in the back like that. So that being said, I think you can feel pretty safe about buying whatever, because everyone always wonders about these types of pens, more so with the gel pens and clogging issues. Okay, I haven't had any clogging with any of these, so far so good. What did someone say about that Copics? They will remove dye ink, but the cardstock coating starts to go to, oh, so you're digging right into the glossy coating or something on the cardstock. Maybe that was what was going on there. Ink 1 cotton card. If the Spectrum Noir would work, it takes out alcohol ink. Oh. Huh. Oh. I see what you mean. I didn't know the reference. Yeah, put a something up there. The two towers. All right, let's see here. All right, so here's the 0.7 millimeter. Okay, 3 millimeter. If I did that, if I put an eye up here, I would darken in all of these, I think. I'd put darker clouds down here as well. And I would make this lake more of like a blood red lake, I think. Because, I don't know, people, we're referencing The Lord of the Rings for those that didn't get that reference right there. I love those movies. I didn't enjoy The Hobbit as much, though. I don't know, I felt like I was watching the same thing again, like for the 6th movie, you know, in that 3-part one. Okay, alright, I can't have these pens here, because I don't have room on my desk to spin this around like this. I guess if you feel like you need to kind of, you know, it's time to clean out your desk area, just do an 11 by 17 scene, because then you'll have to kind of, you know, clean things up around your workspace, you know, to give yourself a little room. All right, so 3 millimeter paint pen, okay? So I'm going to add this in. I always say when you're going for these kind of temperature, intensity, textural types of applications, if it's something that's pretty different, it's going to really stand out and look kind of bizarre when you first add it in here like that. See that? I mean, there's nothing else in here like that. But so if you add enough of it, and hopefully this one will, you know, there'll be a continuity to it once I add in some white pigment ink. It should blend in. I have to remind myself about this too when I'm using these things like this. I just kind of trust in my process, and especially that white pigment ink, that it'll blend everything together in the end. And I've done it a few times with these pens now. I just started using these like a year ago, but I don't know, sometimes I even wonder about that, but I don't know. It all seems to come out just fine, you know, with the applications of white pigment ink. I can't sell the use of that enough when it comes to, especially when you're kind of experimenting with something and maybe your application process isn't as kind of refined maybe as it would be with more practice, but the great equalizer for me is just to go in and apply that white pigment ink into areas, and it just, everything miraculously comes together. Always. I should just call my white pigment ink the, you know, the magic, you know, solve anything medium, because that's what it is for me. Specifically, like, I don't know, like something like this, you know, on a huge scene like this with so much tone, but it's stuff like the foils and stuff, you know, that I have experience in now, but if I don't use them for a while, you know, it's a little bit clunky of a process for me. Or colored pencils that I've hardly ever used, you know, in my entire life. That works. The alcohol inks on photo paper processes, you know, I just add in kind of that frothy, misty application of white pigment ink over the end of it, and it just kind of remedies all of my, you know, limited, very visible, limited ability with those, you know, the main medium. I don't know, maybe the main medium is the white, you know, ink or something like that when I do that. All right, so adding this in, see those kind of those heavy dots in there like that? I just think it needs something. It needs some scale or something like that within this piece to make it a little bit more interesting. But it's too much just as is, so, you know, keep that in mind, and we'll see if that white pigment ink helps it. It's funny, I was thinking about this, you know, in terms of, I did one of these videos recently where I think it was, I don't know if I called it, but I don't know if it was like the benefits of white pigment ink or something like that, but when it comes to painting, like oil painting and acrylics or something like that, white is the most widely used paint. That's why it comes in. All the other colors come in like small tubes, and so does the white. But then there's also a gigantic tube of, like, you know, titanium white or something like that in oils and acrylics. It's because that's the most widely used color. But in crafting, you know, you don't have that. You know, people, their most popular color that they use isn't like a white pigment ink or something like that. And there's no, I don't know, I think someone called it a white dye-based ink, but I don't think there's anything, I don't think white dye-based ink doesn't, I don't know, that whole terminology doesn't seem to match, because dyes are transparent, so you can't have like a white, you know, a white dye-based ink would be like, you know, it'd be like water, you know, like bottled water or something like that. You know, it'd be transparent. So I don't know what white dye. Did anyone have that white dye-based ink? I don't even know if that is. But I don't know. You know, so for me, I think I am using a lot of that white. You know, in terms of our media. So, you know, the white, just standard dye-based pigment inks. The Brilliance one, the fast-drying water-based one. I use them all the time. Okay. All right. The 0.7 millimeter. Okay. Let's see. Let me get my... These areas down here, that white might stand out a little bit too much. So let's go with like a blue. Here's this right here, okay? This is real similar to that antique linen, right? So let's go with those. So I did a video a while back, which was something like called Easy Color Schemes, and I just mentioned that I'm just kind of grabbing some of these similar colors, the same colors that I've utilized in a different medium. So we used the dye-based inks in the coloring process right here with the the crafting inks, Memento, Marvy, Distress, and then I went into this whole scene using a similar color scheme in the alcohol pens, and now I'm just grabbing these out in the paint pens. I mean, it makes it, that whole kind of concept and planning of your applications of color pretty easy. You just stick with that same kind of color scheme. Not that you can't, make alterations and additions, from one medium to the next. But if you want everything to just blend in, very easily for you, just use the same color scheme through the different mediums, but you just use the different mediums for what they're really good for. So something like this is really great for, this 7mm one's really great for, or 0.7mm is really great for little tiny details, okay? All right, so see right in here, so those mountains right in there, getting a little bit more kind of illuminated through the highlights. I'm adding a little bit more on the top areas, and then as it transitions down, you just kind of spread your dots out a little bit more. And it stands out a little bit too, but like I said, you're going to be using, you're going to be softening up all that area in there with white pigment ink. Okay? Spectrum Noir, I don't know if anyone knows the answer to Tammy's question. No, wait, the Spectrum Noir, you're saying those are Spectrum Noirs, those are the alcohol ink, right? Spectrum Noirs. Spectrum Noir, they make a dye-based ink too, like a watercolor pen, don't they? A set. Okay. All right. See, these mountains are coming alive a little bit more with this. They're coming alive with value, but they're also kind of coming around in terms of texture. They'll look really busy though, until I put that kind of white pigment ink on them. Now you notice up here I didn't bring in the the 3mm pens. It would have just been too bold, unless I put that over everything, which I wasn't about to do. I'm not going to make this like a impressionistic type of piece at this point in time, or a pointillism piece. All right, so see those right there, those mountains. Oops. Let's see, like that. Catching a little bit more of that light. I think this lighting is going to be more down here rather than up there. You can see those 3mm kind of highlights in there. It's missing throughout these this whole rock area down here, but we'll just go ahead and introduce some of that. Some of these areas got a little bit too dark, so let me try something here. Let's go to, and let me see if I have like a light, really pale gray. What I'm looking at, oh, I already looked for that. I was thinking about, yeah, those ones are silver. Yeah, see, there's like a 50% gray right here and like a 70% warm gray. I mean, that's not too bad for these types of sets because, most people want color. But the fact that they have these pastel versions of every hue really helps out. Look, this one's like that Caribbean blue almost that we used in the scene down here. Oh, I was wondering about that, Froggy Fresh. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. All right, yeah. See, that's a little bit more subtle than white. I would use white. Okay, if I didn't have this one, I might just use a little bit less of it. But see how that little highlight on the tops of those rocks? I mean, it does kind of, you know, reiterate what's going on in the background up there in terms of top lighting, like that. If you're wondering about how to highlight something, generally I mean, I can fill in here and have like a, you know, a larger application. See, that's like a little line right there, but I kind of just add little dots, and you kind of you condense your dots a little bit, and then you kind of taper them off, okay? So it looks like, let me see if I can show you on this. Let me show you right here, okay? So let's say this is a rock right here, okay? So if it's being top lit, what you do is you add more dots on the top where it's being illuminated like that, and then you just have it kind of taper off with less dots like that. Now, I mean, there's a lot of them right here on that. Do you see that kind of top lighting like that? And then it transitions off like that, okay? So how that would look with something like this. I mean, these are small rocks right here, so it might just be a little bit of a highlight like that, but then on a larger rock, you can add a little bit more, and then you can kind of taper it off with a few dots like that. I don't know if you can even see that. But here it is. Okay. Areas like right in here, where it gets very dark. You don't need to like illuminate it too much, so maybe it's a little bit of a dot like that, okay? So see that? You get these little areas in there like that, and you get that illumination like that. Okay, so it just puts a little bit of a, oh, I don't know, a lighter element with that touch, and it just, to me, it kind of brings those areas to life. Certain areas are just too dark, so I tend to not light them, okay? Even with a little dot, or it might transition off where this rock right here got like one little tiny dot, and that's a little tiny dot right here. But see how it just kind of, you know, suggests that there's something in there. Here, I'll put a couple more in there like that. But there's this little transitioning kind of highlight in there. So that whole area in there, to me, looks a little bit more, I don't know, like it's filled with three-dimensional objects as opposed to being flat. Okay? See that right there? Here, I'll show you the difference between one side and the next. So you see this little area in here, you know, as opposed to this in here, like that. And it's subtle, but I don't know, I think it makes a, you know, a decent amount of difference, especially if someone's like looking at something at your piece, you know, closer up. Okay. And this blue one's working out pretty decently. Okay, let's see. There we have it like that. That's a little bit much there. Let me show you something too. If you add too much, that's a little bit too much like that. You can just kind of, you know, wipe it off if you want to. Like that. Even if it's kind of dry, you can do that. But again, look at blended in with Pigment Ink. If you want to tone in something, it's like, oh my god, it's crawling around with like white dots all on my rocks or something like that. You can take your ink, black ink or whatever, and you can tone those dots with a color too, with your dye-based inks. All right. Oops, I knew it happened again. My chat window got stuck. All right, let me see. The last thing I saw was Froggy Fresh was reading something. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, there it is. Froggy Fresh cleaned their work area. They can work in it now. Can you do an 11 by 17 in it? Let's see. Candy's working on our treadmill. That's a good idea. Okay, let's see. It needs a deer in the water and birds between the mountains and trees. Okay, Picket fence, distress, ink, love. What is that? Picket fence. Is that a color of distress ink there? Hello, Dawn in Maine. Let's see. Thank you, Dawn. Okay, I'm caught up there. I don't know why my chat window gets it gets hung up sometimes. And then if I post something, it kind of unlocks it. But here, see, here's these little dots like that. Out of focus here. See, like that? See, here's the difference between this area right here and this area over here. You know what I mean? Those little highlights can make a pretty, big difference. And I'm using the white down here because this area in here is lighter anyway. Okay. When you do these types of little accents, we tend to be working like in a little tiny area, okay? But hold your piece at arm's distance to see what your marks are doing in terms of influencing the overall. It's really, I've mentioned this before, but I have to remind myself to hold, the piece out at arm's distance, because I'm kind of focusing in on a tiny little, like a half inch square area when doing something like this. And I might have like tunnel vision. I'm doing this and I'm going like here and here and here and adding these little things. And it's like, then I kind of like zoom out and it's like, oh my God, the whole place is like crawling with little dots, It's like someone has applied like Christmas lights over everything. There's outline of, all over the trees and stuff like that. Someone's strung up Christmas lights. And that's what I used to run into sometime when doing this type of thing. It's because it's kind of fun to add these things in there, once you get going. It's almost like when you add in kind of light into dark. I noticed this with my my stamp board classes, and I taught a lot of them, and there was always this kind of phenomenon that took place when people were doing that. The room got really super quiet when they got to the scratching portion. And it wasn't that they were all into the swing of it, but it was almost like, I don't know, this meditative process of adding light into dark. It's almost like it's utilizing, I don't know, like a different hemisphere of the brain or something like that. By doing these subtractive processes. And I was wondering if it had anything to do with kind of like, it's not necessarily like negative space, but everyone's more used to doing kind of additive processes where you get kind of darker and darker, where you can see it on a white piece of paper. But this is almost like going in and reintroducing like the whiteness of the paper back into these very small areas. In the scratch board, you're scratching that back into it. So I had wondered if it had anything to do with that, because there was a completely different energy and, I don't know, feeling in the air. All right, so see this right here? I mean, you're adding these little type of textures, here, here, here. It's in the water. You can add some of this in the clouds too. Now, I didn't even notice it. Those areas in the cloud because I'm getting a lot more like textural continuity. So those little dots in there really stood out until I started adding it into these other areas like this, the 0.7 millimeter. Froggy Fresh is ready to do the 11 by 17. I was doing 12 by 24 earlier. That's huge. Your next one's go get a piece of like 30 by 40 like illustration board or Bristol board. Can you imagine how much ink that would take? I think if I was ever to do like a huge piece on like a Bristol board or a illustration board or something like that, some kind of panel, I think I would have to bust out the like the paint brushes and get some watercolor paints or acrylics or something like that. Maybe more acrylics. All right, adding around like this. That's pretty big, 12 by 24. 12 by 24 what? Do you have some, you don't have 12 by 24 cardstock, do you? Is Pigment Ink, Picket Fence is a distress ink that helps me hide mistakes. Picket Fence, huh? Is it it's a color candy? When you want to know how the whole thing looks, take a picture of it. Yeah, that's a great idea. You know, for me, doing this, I'm looking at my laptop up here quite often, and I feel it gives me I don't know, kind of a different perspective. Sometimes I was telling this friend of mine, when I'm doing this, I'm almost watching sometimes on, now not for the, like something like the really detailed little things like this, but when I'm on with you doing these, I'm looking up here. Whenever I'm looking up here, I'm looking at my screen. So sometimes it gives me a kind of a good perspective, because my camera's like looking over it like this. I'm looking at it from an angle like this, but I don't know, it gives me a different view of it. Like I am holding it out at kind of arm's reach, and I have a better kind of feeling of the overall watching it up on my, my laptop. It's not full screen or anything. It's like a smaller window, but I think it helps. Not that we should all do that, and if I wasn't live streaming, I wouldn't broadcast it for myself to look at, but I don't know. It's something I've noticed recently when doing this. I'm looking up like at the screen a lot. Let's see. Oh, what? Picket Fence is a distress ink, and it's white? Oh, like a white picket fence. Well, what is that then? It's one of those distress, it's not a dye distress. I know that they call that, it's not an oxide though, is it? Huh. I think this area down here could use some of that Wink of Stella too. Huh. All right, so let's do some of this on these trees now, okay? Now these trees are something that, if I was to do this not in this format where I did an entire stamp sketch that was completely finished, I would be adding in these trees at this point in time now, and I think I would do them in, I would emboss them or something like that, I think. Just to have them a little bit more three-dimensional in the surface. I didn't used to do that, but I'm doing a little bit more embossing these days, and I think it would be really cool. Yeah, the 30 by 40 inch would be on the floor. I think that's what I would be doing too. And I'd be looking for a 30 by 40 inch, area to do that in. Okay, so anyways, but going into these trees, we'll add in some highlights on the sides of these trees here, getting them a little bit more three-dimensional looking, and I just think they're a little bit less, I don't know, flat looking. They're okay to be flat. I think it was a little bit darker though too, but the highlight really works on them because you put a few little highlights on it like this, And it just, I don't know, it pulls them out from the background a little bit more. Like that, okay? Now the trees I tend to, you know, if I'm not being careful, I tend to overdo. But better to overdo once in a while than to underdo all the time. So if, you know, as I always tell people, kind of overdo a few cards, you know, when you're starting out. You know, if you're kind of wondering where to stop, you know, don't. Just take it. And then if you look back, you know, and say, oh, I used too much of that, then just rub some of it out or just remember that for the future. But, you know, it's always better to just kind of be bold, I think. That's what my instructors always used to say in college, you know, in art classes and stuff like that. You know, which we never, you know, wanted to do. We wanted to play it safe, you know, because we don't want to have to redo anything, you know, and we always wanted our first attempts to always be perfect. So I get it, okay? I didn't understand all this stuff, you know, until later on, in terms of the benefit and why we do certain things a certain way or see things in a certain way. Okay, so see these little highlights in there? All right. So see these trees. I don't know if you can see it here, but these trees on this side, you know, I think they stand out more than the trees on this side. And it's because these little highlights, even this one right over here that doesn't have, like there's two little dots right up here, right? So if we apply that on some of these over here, I just think they'll, you know, they'll just look a lot better. So on these ones right over here, I right side illuminated them because they are to the left of the light. These ones over here to the right of the light, I will left side illuminate them. You know, for the most part, again, it's to kind of reiterate lighting direction there. Glad you like the videos, Candy. By the way, if anyone, I always say this, if any of you have like any specific requests, you know, to see something done, let me know. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things that are, there's 1,000 videos at this point in time too, so I might already have something up, and I usually refer people over to it. Like, hey, what do you wash your hands with, or how does the tack and peel work, you know? And I refer them to those videos, but if I haven't done something, you know, I'll usually try to do it. I'm always interested in trying different things. Now, if you tell me, hey, Kevin, I need an instructional video on oxide, you know, inks, I'm not going to do that because I haven't used them before, you know, so it'd be like, you know, I wouldn't try to, you know, do, you know, something under, it would be like a, here's my oxide experiment, you know, video, you know, but there's probably 100 other videos that are, you know, with people that really know how to use the things, so... But, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to getting those things and trying them out. But, I don't know, I would say most of you in these, you know, that are watching this, if you're crafters, you're probably going to know a lot more about specific media than I do. Like, I haven't even heard of the, you know, I already forgot it. What was that, what was the name of that white distress ink up there? I need to keep notes. I need to keep like a, you know, a notepad next to me during these vids, the live ones. Okay, so anyways, here's a little bit of those highlights on those trees out there. So here we look at this. I tried not to zoom out too far because you're not going to be able to see a 0.7 millimeter dot, you know, in there. But the whole piece, I think, you know, it's coming together a little bit more from a, I don't know, a lighting standpoint. You see these little areas up on the, you know, the peaks up here catching some light. Let's do a little bit more in a couple areas here just to catch some of that light, or just to, you know, to make these little areas stand out just a touch more, okay? I use these white pens a lot, so I think this one's starting to, I might be getting close to the end of this one right here. See those little highlights like that? Yeah, it's a little bit too much. I just looked up at my screen there. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. Something like that. Okay. It's like the more I add in here, the more it, kind of opportunity for certain areas there is to add more, because, we're kind of creating that texture throughout the piece, so I can, I don't know, add a little bit more. If I add a little highlight over here, it opens up the opportunity to put it here too, because this area is closer to this, lighting area, so. Okay. I'm learning on this one. I'm learning more than I thought I would on this one. I don't know why that is, but I don't know, I guess scale, I don't know, with scale, there's certain types of little considerations. So what I meant is that, see, this is closer to the light up here, so, I mean, it could be under different lighting or something like that, but it seems like if I didn't have this little pathway of reflected light in here and here, it seems like it would look kind of strange in here, maybe, I don't know. Am I working on a huge, what was that now? Picket fence. Oh. Okay, I gotta look at that picket fence there. Fireworks noise has started. Out of town on a lake. No restrictions. Uh-oh. Yeah, hold on to that puppy. I used to, I don't know, you start watching these different videos on YouTube, and one of them is like a dog rescue video, and a lot of the rescues, it seems like over the years was after the 4th of July, these, the dogs just bust out of their, their homes and ran away because they just got so scared. I don't know, there were probably like 3 or 4, I would say, related to fireworks. And dog ran away for its dear life, I guess, and just couldn't find its way home afterwards. Okay, so there's our lighting in there. Okay, go like that. Where's my white pigment ink? Candy, I got this at Kelly Paper. All right. One of the things I was mentioning, a lot of paper sources, they're out of paper these days. But let's say if someone absolutely had to get something in before something got back in stock, let's say you're looking for a 8.5 by 11, standard letter size paper, and they just were out of stock in it. I was telling some people in the last broadcast that it's, if you're already buying a ream of it, and if it's a paper that you're going to use a lot of, okay, like a standard white cardstock or something, something very basic. The 8.5 by 11 versions of paper, they're not double the price of 8.5 by 11 from what I've seen. They are, I don't know what percentage it would be, and paper's gone up too. But let's say, I was telling them that maybe an 8.5 by 11 ream of 200 sheets of chrome coat glossy might have been $25, but the 11 by 17 might have been 32 or something like that. It wasn't double, you know. So I don't remember exactly what it was, but that's just, you know, for an example. And I've thought about that before too, but even for me, I go through a lot of paper, but, you know, if I have 2 reams of like glossy, you know, I'm not, that's lasting me a really long time. So I was showing people, I don't know, that piece of paper that I was doing those pieces on, I probably bought it like, I don't know, 25 years ago. I used to go through a lot of it though, because I used to teach workshops, and I'd put a pack of like, I don't know, 10 pieces of, you know, paper in everyone's class supply packs, you know, so I was going through, and then we are also teaching, you know, make and takes at conventions, so I was going through a lot of it, but I don't know. I don't know. I didn't buy the 11 by 17s typically, because I would have to order it from Kelly Paper, and they got it in like 2 or 3 days or something like that. But I didn't feel like going back in and getting it, so I just got the 8.5 by 11s. Okay, white pigment ink on here. If you guys haven't seen me do this before, what you do is you ink up like this, and it's going to be all frayed. You know, you can see that kind of fraying of that thing. Cotton, so you just kind of go like this, and you just kind of squeeze it down, and you have a nice flat applicator. Now you don't want that just absolutely sopping wet full of ink where you're going like this and applying it in a very big blotchy way, okay? So, I mean, you can always test it out on your, you know, piece of scratch paper or something like that, and see how much ink is being applied, how much ink is applied with a little bit of a softer touch, how much ink is being applied with a heavier touch, right? Okay. Might as well use that ink. But just kind of be aware of your application pressure and the amount that you're transferring on there, okay? All right. Must be cheaper to attach to larger piece with a hinge. What do you mean by that? Was that in regards to the 11 by 17s? Okay, so here we go with this. Okay, so I'm going to be adding it into my light areas first, where it's almost invisible, right? See that right there? You can't see. It's like I haven't done anything, right? And then I'm adding this in this lighter. It might just be that there's not enough ink on here too. And then what I do is I'm going to tape, you know, kind of apply that and move it into the area around it that's darker. So you start in the light and then you work into the dark. It doesn't mean it's dark up there, but it's darker than the light though. So just like tapering kind of your highlighting, you know, into the darkness, this is putting your light into the dark. And okay, in the same way, it's just with a soft texture instead of a, you know, a pen. So you can see that illumination right there happening, right? And it softens up your clouds or whatever, you know, whatever's in your lighter areas right there. So again, the benefit of the retention of some areas of light, you know, you can go in and do these little highlights in there with a white paint pen. You can come into it with your white pigment ink, stuff like that, okay? Now watch as I bring some of this down in these trees, okay? Like I said, everything was just too busy looking before, but I just know that I can come into it with something like this and see that, look at that illuminated light now, okay? Okay, now remember, if you haven't done this before, this is going to be, it's going to be a strange process because people aren't used to doing very dry applications of your crafting media. You don't put in like super dry applications of alcohol inks, or, you know, if you're doing watercolor pencils or something like that. I don't know. Not with wet media. You know, people aren't used to doing dry applications of wet media. Okay, so a lot of times when people go like this, if you're doing it for the first time, it's like, I don't know, like 8 taps or something like that. It's practically invisible still. So it's not a comfortable feeling for people from a visual standpoint to not see what they're applying. So just keep that in mind. Just say, it might not do it in 8 taps or something like that, but in 20 taps you get that kind of glowing little, very vague application of that media. And then you can apply more, and it's getting a little bit lighter the more you apply it there like that, because you're kind of building it up, okay? Hello, CJ. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for checking it out. You have hinged dies. Huh, okay. I don't even know what that means, Like I said, a lot of you know a lot more about other media than I do. Okay. Media, tools, everything. Okay, but see how this is kind of going in here? Look at that. See how kind of harsh and crisp that is? I don't know about harsh, but, it's just a very sharp image in there, but look at how soft that looks. And doesn't that look like it's farther back in the distance than this one? Okay, it doesn't mean that you have to approach everything in every place the same. Maybe we apply some of that there, but not over here, It's all up to you. And you're saying, wait a minute, Kevin, if it's all up to me, I'm not going to know where to put it. Okay, so do just oscillate it, like in this one right here, okay. I'm applying some of it right over these trees, but maybe on these trees I don't, if you're doing it, you can apply some of it over here and not over here. You know what I mean? Just, I don't know, you can just vary it too. Or you can apply a thicker amount of it in some area, and another area it can be less, okay? But yeah, you just kind of hold it up at arm's distance and try to get a feel of it. And if you like something, and if you want to go a little bit more, then apply a little bit more. But it doesn't have to be this like 300% jump in, the application of something. It could be like it's like a point, 2, percentage increase or something like that. As slow as this comes together, and as soon as you do 10 taps of it, maybe it's a 1% increase of something, okay? So you can really take things very kind of methodically if you're not sure about it. Okay, so up here in these mountain peaks, remember about all that kind of talk I was mentioning about kind of a textural variety. Okay, so let's say this mountain right here is in front of this one. Okay, so I can mute this one in the background like this. Okay. And now this one stands out a little bit more just because you've made this little area lighter, okay? Now this is what I was saying too when I was doing this. If I know where certain things are going to be lightened, that took like 5 seconds to do. You can wipe some of the area off of this before making that impression, just so it's light inherently like that, all right? Oh, you were making a catalog of your Stampscapes. Oh, okay. Well, that was a good use of your time. And plus, these always replays, CJ. So. See that right there? Isn't that fun? Kind of putting that light on that side of that mountain like that. Was it in this chat? I don't know. It was somewhere, and maybe it was on Facebook or something like that. But people were talking about making those catalogs of their stamps in the past. I'm talking about like in the past, and some people would take those. You can take this is before you can digitize things and have maybe a digital record or something like that where it's easy to look things up. But they were talking about back when you used to go to conventions, if you had, I don't know, whatever, 50 different brands of stamps in your collection, you haven't used 60% of them, it was hard to remember, so people would bring their catalogs, you know, their handmade catalogs, just so they can avoid replication. And it was usually like an imprint of the image. I guess they could have done, if there were codes on there, I guess they could have done that too. But a lot of times people had the visual on there. You know, maybe they got, you know, some unmounted stamps at some convention and they didn't know what company they were by the time, you know, they got home, didn't remember, or didn't, you know, didn't remember, you know, from a convention that was 10 years ago by the time they, you know, started putting the thing together. So they would have their, you know, their catalog would be in categories like, you know, animals or something like that, and, you know, subcategory birds, and they'd have that image stamped out in there. But some people were putting those things together with, like, you know, and they had like, I don't know, 5,000 different stamps, you know, that they had to catalog. All right, so going in here, see that right in here? That little pigment ink, look at that little illumination right up there. Does anyone have stamp organization software? I think there's those companies. I think you have to have like you pay like a monthly service or something like that for that, or was it an app? I don't remember. And I think some of them were around, but then they weren't around any longer. Okay, this is where I have to kind of look up at my piece. I'm going to look at my screen to see what's going on here. I don't want to just mist out everything. Okay. Now see this one right here, where I'm really kind of obscuring this this ridge line right here in that white pigment ink, but maybe I should leave that nice and crisp. I was thinking about putting a little bit right here, but I thought maybe we should create a contrast between the sharper area and the softer area right in here, you know, just for variation again. But this, for me, is where this piece kind of starts to look, I don't know, kind of a little bit more reminiscent of like a painting, maybe, I don't know. You know, because you're applying kind of a translucent to semi-opaque application of something. That's usually something that's a little bit more akin to a, you know, a painted type of process, okay? Because most of the times in, you know, stamping, we can't go with too much of a, you know, create an opacity over transparent. Tim Holtz has the index. Okay. So that's that whole area up there. I might apply more, but let's start moving it down here into this water area, okay? Yeah, it looks a little bit better, I think. Especially in those background trees. I really like this pigment ink over these background trees. It just kind of incorporates everything into the piece a little bit more. Okay, so this water line down here, it's all very uniform, right? You can see that whole thing. I mean, it's darker over here, but you know, this whole area gets kind of monotonous. And looking up at those mountains, now I'll come back up to this again. Let's go into the water, but I want to break up this too a little bit more, you know, where it's not just sharp everywhere. Okay, so let's go like this and come into it like so. Who was that there? Oh, so CJ, how did you catalog your stamps? Did you do it like by code or category or what? I'm just curious. Or by name, animals all together in rocks, or? All right. So see, well, here, let me show you what's going on here. See that right in there? It's just kind of adding it, oscillating it again like that. Pushing that in the distance a little bit more. I suddenly applied too much, and it was like I was trying to remove it, but it was adding more and more. Maybe that I have a lot of it in all sides of that cotton ball at this point in time. There we go. On glossy cardstock too, this pigment ink, well, the brilliance ink sticks a little bit more, but other types of pigment ink, the hero arts and all that, that would just wipe right off if you need it to. I don't know if it'll wipe off 100%, but probably 90 at least, you know, if not 100%. Okay, let's see. Sometimes, or almost all the time, the white pigment ink dries darker than what it looks like when it's been freshly applied. And as we're doing this here, it has dried, so I need to build up more of more tone here. Okay, let's see. I need to see. Oops. You got quiet there, so I was wondering if I got locked again. All right. It has a little bit more of a dreamier feel to it the more of this you add in there too. I think I can get a little bit more bold with some of this, at least in a couple areas. And we still have that option of throwing a couple little light beams coming over that ridge line too. I'm not sure if I want to do that or not. If I do, it won't be too extreme. I think maybe coming behind that mountain like that and down in here might be interesting. Huh. In this light area, it's almost like invisible. I'm trying to build it up a little bit more and more. And that also kind of blends in those 3mm ones. So you get that shimmer around there, but it's just blended in a little bit more. I could put some of my trees here, as if it's kind of capturing some of that soft light in there. We have our kind of our watercolory types of little texturing going on in here, but you know, if it stands out too much, you can just kind of mute it or break up that little shape in there a little bit more, so like that. So that little streak in there. But then see, I put a little bit in between there just to kind of break it up a little bit. You can see it, but it's a lot more faint, like right in there. So I'd say it's just little things like this that are, you know, kind of fun to do at this point in time. If you have little detailed areas too that you want to throw, you know, some of this effect in there, then do it with a like a Q-tip or something like that, maybe. And then when you get used to this too, like I said, it dries a little bit darker. So sometimes if you know that, then you'll know, you know, just how much lighter to take it. That might look weird while it's wet, but when it dries out, it kind of mellows out and blends in a little bit more. All right, so there we have that. I'm looking in here, I'm looking at some of those warmer tinges, and I might not like some of that as dark as it is, so I'm just going over it with white just to kind of de-emphasize some of that temperature within that space, if I can. Like I said, this goes on with a kind of a translucent application. Not that I wouldn't want opaque, you know, because then we wouldn't be able to see what we've done underneath it. Okay. Spray seal your pieces, you know, especially after you've done this type of application with pigment ink on there. Less important than with foils, but still a good idea to do it, you know, just to lock it into place. Okay, let's see, right up here. Right. Civilization 6. Sounds like an app. Is that an app? Oh, hello P. Wrench. How are you doing, Phyllis? We're just starting off in the scene. Now, I think you were here the other night, all right, Phyllis, with the either the coloring or the foundation of this, or both. Oh, it's a computer game, huh? I play a couple apps these days that aren't too time-consuming. There's these apps on, people don't, you know, a lot of the stamper crowd, you know, they're not into the apps and stuff like that, but there's a lot of these different types of things that you can play on your devices or phones or whatever, you know, your tablets, and you know, you create a team or something like that, and people join in. And when my son was like, you know, in 4th grade or whatever, you know, 1st grade, 2nd grade or something like that, he'd be creating these different teams, and I would just join in, you know, do it. But inevitably, you know, the kids get, you know, they get bored of those apps after, or any type of thing, and they just move on. But, you know, you get these teams of like 20 people, 30 people or something like that. So I like stayed on a couple of them, and it's like, you know, 9 years later. But one of the times it was like kind of the question went out, where do people live? You know, where's everyone from? And it was like people who are from all over the world. It was like Australia and Thailand, because you know all you see is people's kind of screen name, you know, whatever it is, and I don't know. It came up that with a lot of them, a lot of the longtime members, it was like, yeah, you know, they started playing it with their kid, and you know, the kid quit, you know, after like 6 months, and here they are playing it like 7 years later. All right, so I'm having fun with my pigment ink here, okay? That's what we're looking at right here. I'm thinking about, there's a lot of oh, similar types of textures. I like what's going on in most of it, but again, I think that it could potentially benefit from kind of like a little bit of a change. So I think just for the sake of it, I'm going to be throwing, and I don't know if it needs it, but I just think for a little bit more of a kind of a focal point type of thing, we can do something a little bit different in here. Maybe I'll keep it really subtle, but let's see here. I might have to add in some little critter in here or something like that, or birds or something. Or, you know, both. I don't know. Rain kept the fireworks indoors until now. Now, where are you, Phyllis? Not your address, but just in general, that you're getting some rain right now. Yeah, okay, I'm with you. We need some rain out here. You know, Yellowstone Park, they don't need any rain. Montana. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so I'm looking for some opportunities right here. It seems like there already is a little bit of a shadow right going down this way. For some light beams, maybe. Like right in here. Nothing too kind of extreme. I'm going to put a vanishing point right here, okay? Let's see. 1996, you're kidding me. That's going back a ways. Okay. All right, let's see. Now, my light beams aren't going to start from up there. There's just going to be some kind of beams coming in from like right around in here type of thing. And let's see. I need a bigger work area. as we've all said, right? At some point in time. All right, let me see. I put that little vanishing point right there. And we're going to come in like this. All right. Oh. I'm trying to decide on where some of these beams will go. Okay, well, if it's up here, then I really want more like right around in here. Okay, I've changed my vanishing point. I'm going to make it the top of that little peak right there. The reason why I'm saying this, if I had it up here, then it seems natural that I would have that beam showing up there, but I don't want it to be up there. I want it to be like down here in that lit portion, okay? Okay, so here we go. I'll keep it really, really faint, though, for now, okay? I don't know if there's even ink still on this one right here, but... I think this is completely dry. Storming in Delaware. Oh, Central Florida. Storming all weekend. Huh. And Delaware too. Thunder, rain, and light. Send some of that over our way, Vidette. Send it to anywhere west. Is that typical though in July? Is it like a, I don't know, what, a monsoonal rains or something like that? Or is that typical in July? So Froggy Fresh, you need it in Ohio too. Send some to the Midwest as well. If you can spare. Okay, all right. So there's that. Okay, that's about right. Remember, this is going to dry darker, though, okay? This one right here is going to be fairly subtle because this is already dark to begin with. I'm not sending it through anything that's too, you know, dark in back of it, okay? I'll just kind of oscillate. I'll put a little bit up here, and I'll put a little bit down here, okay? We'll leave this center area just as is, but we'll see if this shows up in here at all. Okay, something like that. That one's pretty subtle like that, but I have that kind of just the suggestion of a little bit. Like I said, I don't want it too extreme. I mean, it might be a little bit too extreme right there. I can kind of mute that out a little bit. Let's see. All right. Go like this. Okay. Always starting with the same kind of vanishing point area. Okay. And it doesn't have to start there. You can kind of have it starting down here, wherever you want it to be. And it's kind of difficult to figure out where you want it to be, but if you just know that you're just going to oscillate it a little bit, have it darker, lighter, you know, it usually doesn't matter too much. It just know that where you apply the white over something darker, it's going to show up, you know, more distinctly because of that contrast in there. Yeah, water and like natural gas used to be fairly, you know, inexpensive, you know, relatively speaking. But yeah, water. Well, I guess everything, right? Okay, so there's that. About like so. See, I kind of hung that one a little bit. See, as I start doing these beams, I get a little bit better at them, I think, in terms of making them look a little bit more natural looking as I work through a couple. So there's one that's kind of very subtle, okay? And like I said, I wanted these fairly subtle, okay? I don't want them like super, like boombastic or anything like that, okay? Let's see, let's put another one coming kind of through here. But again, I don't want them so symmetrical this way, so maybe I'll just do a little bit of one kind of coming to about like right here or something, or wherever, I don't know. Let's go a little bit longer. I'll do one kind of narrow here. Has anyone done these beam type of things yet? They are really fun to do. And they can add a lot of visual movement to a scene. I don't know, they say something like if you use diagonals in pieces. But then when you're doing this in kind of light over something that's dark, it also gives your pieces a lot of dimension, potentially. And I don't know, the piece, I mean, this is a big piece to begin with. I can't even see the bottom part of this, but it almost becomes the star of the scene sometimes in many cases. In terms of it being kind of the, you know, the most notable thing. Okay, now I only have one coming down here. It's like, what the heck is that? So you need to come in with another one here or there just for it to kind of make sense a little bit more. Yeah. Water. I've been watching some news on some of these reservoirs, like I think it was it on Lake Powell or whatnot. Just such low levels. And then you get the, you know, then you get that, those news things of like Yellowstone, you know, getting washed out, you know. I think we were mentioning in a previous live, you know, it's just too bad there wasn't a system of, I don't know, canals or something like that connecting up, you know, different areas, so. You can kind of transport some of that where it's needed. Alright, so there is a couple beams across there, like so. Alright. Let me show you this without any glare here, like that. Alright, I need one more. I think there's, is there 3 beams here, or is there 2? No, there's 3 beams. This one's like invisible though. And let's come down here, I don't know. Let's just do something like this. It'll be kind of a, or I don't know, maybe across here. It won't be obvious though, okay? I'll do it real light. I've never used such long, I've never had to use such long pieces of paper before. You know, this is a long reach right here for this, this beam. Okay. Alright, let me see. Let me see if I can get kind of the gist of what's happened here. In terms of, you know, these being, the influence, they're fairly subtle. I don't know if they're, it might, I was going to say a couple of these might be a little bit distracting, so let me break them up a little bit. Okay, I want it more subtle, so I'm just going to break that one up here a touch. Okay, like I said, it dries much more, I don't know, almost transparent, so let's see, here's my first one right here. I want to break that one up a little bit more, so I'm just kind of wiping this right off. I'm not erasing it, I'm just kind of breaking up the beam where it's like visible, you know, or heavier, lighter, like this. Okay, so it looks like that right there. And, I want to put a bird or something like that in that space, I think. It needs like some sort of visual anchor point. I was trying to remember that in that video that I did. What was it, the 3 or 4 Fs or something like that? It was foundation, filler, foreground, and focal point. But I think I think there was another one. I was just trying to come up with some sort of thing that people can remember, you know, to take into consideration when doing their pieces. So I was thinking on this one right here, it's kind of missing your focal point, or your, you know, your visual anchor point, which would be your kind of focal point. But I don't know, something like that in there, just some small flock or something like that might be kind of nice. Okay, so, but anyways, I have these beams going in here, and the ones that are slightly more prominent here going off into the left right here, I think I'm going to reiterate it with that white paint pen. Not that that beam is touching everything along in its path. I mean, it could be, you know, coming out, you know, from the distance. and be, it could be 10 miles from that mountain in the background, but I think that this just, I don't know, it's a fun little effect that wherever that beam kind of runs across an image, maybe in the, the more distant parts of that beam, maybe you create a little bit more of a highlight. Along the path there. Like I said, I think this pen is running out of ink or paint here. One of the things that happens too, this pigment ink is almost like it's a floating kind of wet application of thick ink. So when you go into it with your paint pens too, sometimes that pigment ink is going up into the nib there. So unless this is really flowing really freely, it can kind of clog up that tip, which normally doesn't happen. But again, you're going into, okay, it's going. It's just, this paint right here is wet. Okay, so, okay, here we go. So really get it flowing like that. And then periodically do a little scribble like that. Okay, so see that right in there? I don't know if you can see it at all, but see that where I have this beam kind of coming across some of these forms in the background? Here's some clouds down here. I just have that beam kind of interacting with that background in there slightly. Here's this beam right here. This one's like super, super subtle right here. See this beam like coming across right here? Okay, now watch as it moves across these two trees right here, okay? So I'll put some highlights in the path of that beam like that. Creating a little bit more of that illumination right there. Because that beam right there looks like it is kind of hitting those trees too. Okay? And what that looks like is nothing like, super, crazy or something like that. It's just kind of these subtle little things like that. Right there. See what it looks like really close up. Here, let me try to zoom in a little bit more. I mean, it looks kind of funny close up like that, but I don't think someone's going to be looking at your scene from, 4 inches away or something like that. And it's someone that says, hey, I don't have my glasses, and they're holding it up really close to their eyes. But, if they need that, then the scene's going to be a little bit blurrier anyways and maybe look better. That's what one of my art teachers said one time. He was asking one of the students, he's like, okay, what is your eyesight? And they're like, I don't know, like 20/20. And he goes, oh, that's too bad. Because he thought people were focusing too much into the details of their pieces, where if they have kind of a little bit, weaker eyesight, they're focusing more on kind of the overall and the forms, and they're, they see that instead of, always focusing on little tiny details. Okay, so that being said, I'm adding a little bit more in the lighter areas down here where I put some of that pigment ink over the background in there, like that. See that? Yeah. Did you get some chocolate, Froggy Fresh? What's better, dark chocolate or like a milk chocolate? What are you guys, or is it just any chocolate here? Not to create a chocolate war or anything like that. I tend to favor dark chocolates, these days. I don't know. When I was a kid, any type of chocolate. Actually, I probably would have favored milk chocolate when I was a kid. We used to get those, go trick-or-treating, and in those, and I think it was in the Hershey's ones, that one type of dark chocolate that they only had like one or two, pieces of within those big packs. I forgot what it was called. It's something dark, right? Yeah, we weren't, fighting over that one. Okay, so see that, that little path of that beam right there, interacting with those trees like that. So, I don't know, it's just one of those little extra fun things, if you want to play around with something like that. It can be one of those little detailed types of applications in there, like so. Gosh, I wish I can show you, I wish I can just have this where it doesn't have that glare on it the whole time. It's just too big of a piece to, to eradicate that glare when showing you guys this. All right, we got a dark. Someone has cheese. Kay is definitely a milk chocolate. She doesn't like that bitter taste. Darcy's a milk chocolate. Hershey's Special Dark. You knew what that one was. Dark chocolate. Supposed to be good for the heart. That's why I eat it, for the health benefits. Yeah. Costco had this really great dark chocolate. They're out of it now. It was like dark chocolate with sea salt, right? Almonds. And they have some version of that now, but I like this other pack, but, of course they're not selling it anymore. It's like I should have bought like, I don't know, whatever, 3 packs of it or something like that. My son doesn't like chocolate at all, except a couple different things. I think he used to eat like Butterfinger or something like that, and ice cream sandwiches. The chocolate thing. But yeah, I've known people. There's people that just they just don't like any kind of chocolate at all. All right. Okay, I'm going to add in slightly more texture with my rocks here too. That's another thing I was looking at the other day here. Mounds. I haven't had a mounds in a long time, Beatrice. Let me see. When I was a kid, well, like I said, any chocolate was, fine with me. I liked it. Like I said, maybe not the dark one, but, people weren't eating that too much. Like dark chocolates back when. I mean, there's so much more selection. I'm talking about like the 70s and 80s and whatever. Even the 90s, I don't think there was as much of a selection for chocolates. But, okay, so a little bit more of these rocks like this. This is the tiny rocks. I use the tiny rocks small in here. Let's go very subtle with it, though. It's going to look like it's not subtle because it's going to be wet as I apply it in here, but let's just see how it goes. All right. But yeah, going back to my son, I just, it's like most of those like protein bars and stuff like that. It's like 90% of them are chocolate based. Some of them are peanut butter or something like that. But yeah, it pretty much eliminates that as like a really quick option for him. Because the remaining ones I don't know if he even likes the flavor of. But yeah, the chocolates, With me, yeah, as far as those like energy bars and protein bars, if it doesn't have chocolate, I don't get it. For me. Okay, so adding some of that down, that's a little bit too light, but I'm starting really, really light in here, okay? A Tolkien vibe. I like that. Misty Mountain. Well, someone mentioned the eyeball up there, for that one, so that would be different from the Misty Mountain, but it's giving people some like Lord of the Rings types of vibes or something like that. Sea salt caramel chocolate, that sounds good. My son is broken. Yeah, my wife and I were talking about it. It's like, okay, he doesn't like chocolate. Okay, so he's going to be eating like less candy, but he likes like the like those sour ones, that are so like prominent. I don't know, probably the last 20 years or something like that. Yeah, the CM, yeah, the 70% chocolate. So we didn't even like think of like the percentages back when, right? But yeah, that would probably be, roughly how it is for me too. I'm guessing. What was everyone's favorite, like chocolate? If you like chocolate, you know, I don't know. Let's go back to like the 70s or before. If you're too young for that, I don't know. Maybe just whenever 90s, 2000s. Any of the or the, just the main brand ones. I think when I was a kid, I mean, it's like we weren't pounding, candies or anything like that, but around, um, like Halloween, when you get a bunch of them, and if you're like trading with friends or whatever, what was the most coveted ones for you guys? I think for me, us, it was like the like Crackle or something like that, like the mainstream, bars or whatever. That one was always big. Hershey's almonds. Did people like the plain M&Ms, or are you guys a peanut M&M? Okay, so anyways, you see these like little extra little textures right around in here. I like that. Let's go with a couple darker ones too. Okay. I think I'm just gonna color these top ones in here though. Okay, I'm gonna leave these bottom ones out just so it doesn't look so kind of monotonous in terms of the forms going across in here. I have to be careful because these trees in here got fairly light with that white pigment ink, and also with all the ink applications over the top of them. So I don't want this, if this is to represent, rocks in the water, I don't want it to be darker than the trees, showing right through the trees. So I'm going to avoid them for that purpose. At least in its strongest form. So see that right down in there. And maybe this kind of represents kind of a shallower area of the lake too. Maybe it drops off after that or something like that. So it just, I don't know, it just gives it a little bit more, I don't know, there's a little bit more character to it, I think. Okay. I'll add some of it up here as well. Okay. See something like this up here in that darkness. Remember, it's standing out a little bit too. It's going to dry and not be as dark in that area. Okay, now you say, well, when you spray it though, it'll get darker. It'll get dark like that, but so will the background. So the contrast between that and that won't be as extreme. All right. Let me see, Junior Mints. Junior Mints. The only time we used to get Junior Mints was at the theater, I think, We never had Junior Mints at home too much. Hershey with almonds, the Baby Ruth, yeah. Snickers. When we used to do uh, fundraisers at school for whatever clubs, we'd be selling, like, candy was the big thing that a lot of the clubs were selling, and Snickers, I noticed, out of all the candies, were the ones to always sell the most. We were always stuck with the Reese's peanut butter cups. People liked those, but they just went for the Snickers before that. I think there was one other thing that they used to do too, and I don't remember what it was. But World's Finest Chocolate Bars, the bands. Oh, I think I remember those. Were those the same ones that the Scouts sold? They were thicker though, right? Like a little hexagonal shape or something like that, right? Those are really good. $100,000 bar with caramel and rice. The Nestle's, yeah. Yeah. I haven't had a lot of these different chocolates in a long time. I'm trying to think of... Now, see, my son used to go trick-or-treating, right? So it was like, okay, we got a gazillion of those types of chocolates. But like I said, I'm more into like the, dark chocolate. So it wasn't like oh, great, I get to eat, um, 50 different, like Snickers, minis or something like that. Or I think his friend was still into it, so if he could go trick-or-treating with friends, he'd give a lot of those chocolates away, which is fine with me, because I was thinking, okay, good, so I won't eat them. Okay, so anyways, adding in more of that, that's helping in there. It's giving that that large area a little bit more of a kind of variety, textural variety in that area. Yeah. The plain M&Ms. Stranger Things. I'm still looking for that stamp. Oh, the baby monster thing. Are you talking about the the Edward Gorey one by chance? Oh yeah, I think that was the Edward Gorey one, but I've used it in a few different pieces. Yeah, it was that one little, I don't know, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like a little something, like a seal body or something like that, right? It doesn't have like back legs. That's the problem with doing these kind of scenes using these discontinued stamps from these different companies. That one was it was Kid Stamps, right? Kid Stamps was this company that used to put out all of these different foam sets. Those different types of foam sets that you break them apart like that, and you could stamp them out. But one of them was the Edward Gorey stamp. Yeah, that was the right. Yeah, I love that little creature. I love using him and stuff. I know he looks so, I don't know, what's the word? It has these like little white eyes. And yeah. you stamp something out with that. These little creatures like this, and it definitely sets the mood for a piece. You can do something like this, and I don't know, you stamp out that certain types of creatures or something like that coming out of there, right? I mean, this has a certain type of look, right? But then if someone has like if I put a duck in there, right, or an egret that's standing in the shallows down here, it's going to have a certain type of feel. But then if you have like a Loch Ness monster or something like that, it's like a completely different kind of thematic change for the entire piece, and it doesn't matter how large the piece is. Having something like that, whimsical or whatever, within, a gigantic piece. Froggy Fresh is going to do that 30 by 40 inch piece, doing it on the floor. But if you put in like a Loch Ness monster and there's something like that, it doesn't matter what's going on in the entire rest of the piece. It's going to be kind of thematically about that kind of, unusual thing in there. So, yeah. All right, Vedette, thanks for joining in. Yeah, oh yeah, you're on Eastern Standard, probably. I'm going to add in this one little bird here, if you want to see this. This is my final touch within this piece right here. And that is going to be it. Let's go with black ink. And I don't have the Loch Ness monster, so it's not going to be that. And let's see, okay, I will need something nice and flat. We don't want to be doing like all of this work and then have like the last thing kind of all like unevenly stamped or smeared out or something like that. So here we go. Nice light, even pressure. We have that right there. And suddenly scene becomes all about the gulls. Not really. Those birds, I think, are subtle enough. And what I can do, you've seen me do this on other things, you can put a little bit of white pigment ink over a couple of those, and it, they kind of blend in with that. I didn't even notice that, but I put them right in that beam of light, too, so, yeah. But that is that scene, as is... let me do a little of that white pink on that. I shouldn't do this while they're still a little bit wet, so I don't want to blur them out. I'll just go with a tap right over the top of it just a little bit, so... they're dry enough. Okay, so anyways, the birds the smaller birds are a little bit more in the distance, so I've altered them a little bit, so darker to lighter, right? So that is that. I might do some tweaks on here in allowing the white pigment ink to set up a little bit. I might go in here if I think, oh, it disappeared too much, and add a little bit more. I can see maybe a little bit more in here, but for the most part, I think we're done right here. There's little types of problem areas that I think could show up. I think that they blended in fairly well. See this little shimmer down here? I think that looks okay, especially with that pigment ink kind of surrounding area right in here. These little rocks in here are standing out a little bit too much more, a little bit too much right now, but they're going to blend in more once they dry. They're going to not be as prominent as a freshly inked impression on this dry surrounding in here. And then again, when I spray seal this, that background will match that foreground a little bit more. All right. Yeah. Jeannie, I'm not going to be up until 4 a.m. I don't think. I'm going to get to bed much earlier at 3, at least by 3:45. This day. It's the heat here. We need some of that rain out this way. Of course, it would be a monsoonal thing, and it'd still be hot. It'd just get a little bit muggier. But Annie got the mirrored gold foil. This will take the brilliance. Oh. Okay, fantastic. Hey, use that gold mirrored foil that you have, Annie, for your mirrored area on mirror cards, so you don't have to apply too much, and just stamp on that part with your StazOn ink. So glad you got the, it sounds like the original formula then. Yeah. I miss my mirror pieces here. Can you imagine doing I was thinking about this. Can you imagine doing a mirror piece this size? I mean, it would be much more simple, but I thought about going with a full mirror scene, 8 inches. I mean, 8.5 by 11 inches or something like that. I don't know. It'd be a little bit crazy, but we can also keep it very simple. So, yeah. Yeah, that's right, Froggy Fresh. 4 a.m. No, that'd be crazy. 3:59, at latest. Yeah, that would be a good one there, CJ. I think a little cabin actually would have been better in this one, because it would have provided that kind of focal point. Like say instead of this, it was a lakeside cabin or something like that. Yeah, but I don't know, some little focal point in here. I could still do a fisherman or something like this. This would be like the ultimate kind of secret spot or something like that. Ultimate fisherman's dream type of thing. If you put, or someone canoeing, kayaking out here would be good. It'd be like one of those things where you have like this entire body of water in a beautiful setting all to yourself. It's not just totally zooed out with, 100 other people on the water, doing whatever. And it could provide that type of thing. So maybe still a different focal point, but I don't know. I'll sleep on it and see. And also I'll see if I want to add in any other little type of touches in here with some additional pigment ink or something of that sort. Yeah. Have you tried doing a scene on clear acetate? I haven't. Of course I've done it on the vellum and all kinds of foils and whatnot. But the clear acetate, though, so you do a scene, so you do a composition on the acetate then, But then how would you present it? Would you put it over the top of something else so you can change like a new background or something like that, like a rainbow background or something like that, or a photograph where you get like this, a variety of different backgrounds or something of that sort? I always thought something like that would be interesting, and I think that came to mind with doing the vellums before, but I thought about doing some sort of thing. You can do something on clear acetate, then you can have like these little inserts. You'd have to come up with some sort of little construction where you can put in a different background in there. I don't know, it'd be real gimmicky, but I think it can be pretty cool, where you put in like a background thing. So let's say you do blue or something like that with a star in the sky or something like that, if you knew where to position it, and that would provide your winter or whatever midnight type of scenario. Then you have that split fountain, kind of rainbowy type of background for a sunset scenario. When I'm mentioning all these things, I mean, if you have kind of maybe a bolder types of imagery in there, something like that, I don't know, what would you call it? Like not variable, but assorted background types of things like that. It would be kind of cool, to do. I mean, or you can even do like a glow in the dark, background that gets inserted in there. So I don't know, it'd be like, you putting in like different types of things like that, it'd be kind of cool. Hidden lake. Oh, that's true. Yeah. If it's a hidden lake, then yeah, it wouldn't be a person, but it could be a hidden lake for that person, or if we put some like someone standing out here, it'd be like, their hidden lake, that they, it's like almost like a private lake or something like that. So it's like going surfing. We used to call it like the secret spot, where no one else knows about. And, it wasn't secret for us, but it was secret for everyone else. There's not too many of those places like that, but yeah. Do you have a stamp with loons and their young, probably with the baby? I don't have that, but I have a loon, and then I have a grouping of like juveniles, so and then there's a loon in reflection, which is a smaller one. The scale wouldn't be right for something like this, but if this didn't have a foreground in it like that, you can put a loon like this, and the juveniles could be somewhere else within the scene or something like that. But yeah, I don't have it with really tiny little loons like that. But 260 and 261 are the loon, and loons plural, in that, I don't know, it's like 262A or something like that is loon with reflection. Yeah. Mystic Lake. Oh, yeah. Is everyone coming up with the titles for this right here? Yeah. So what is the title for this one? So I hear a Mystic Lake, Hidden Lake. Yeah. I wasn't even thinking about it. I forgot. So, the Wink of Stella. Yeah, we can add that too. Layered clear acetate. You can stamp different things on each piece. Yeah. Oh, so yeah, that's what people do with compositional kind of structuring. People have done the acetates, and what they used to do is they used to keep it with that stamp, so that if they wanted to compose a scene, they would often compose it using their clear acetates of that stamp. Yeah. Yeah, the butterfly. Something like that would be cool. His secret fishing hole. I did something like that, I remember, for Father's Day. I put like secret spot or something like that. Yeah, like a magic card or something like that, where you can kind of move it around like that. Mystic Lake is a casino in Minnesota. This could be, what do they call those lakes up in the, above a certain level? Alpine lakes or something like, no, it wasn't called that. The Alpine elevation is something like that, I don't know. Crystal Lake, there's a place called Crystal Lake, I think, in Estes Park in Colorado. It's either that or it was called Gem Pond. I think it was called Gem Lake, but it was like the size of a big swimming pool, really. Yeah. Well, maybe it's a nature themed casino though, like with a gigantic pool, a pond in the inside, like those Bass Pro Shops or something like that. Hidden Lake and Glacier National Park. Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. With that kind of turquoise color, huh? And add Orthanc to it. Huh. Can you remind me of what that was? Crystal Lake is from Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th. That was with, that's Jason, right? I get mixed up. There was Jason and what was Halloween? Freddy. We know who Freddy is. Friday the 13th. Wait, no. Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, we can put we'd have to put like 2 like teens swimming out here, if that's going to be Friday the 13th, and some little character with a hockey mask in the corner. This could be, and then suddenly we have this is a Halloween piece for us, so something a little bit different than I think people were thinking about in terms of the, whatever the Tranquility, this won't be like Lake Tranquility anymore, or something like that. What about there was a book by Ansel Adams, The Eloquent Light. I always liked that name, but I think I've named other pieces that before, probably a number of times. Lake Hemet, really? I haven't been to Lake Hemet. I've seen it from up on San Jacinto, though, looking off into the distance, if that's the same one we're thinking about. Oh, okay. Is that one of the 2 towers? I didn't know that. Okay, that's the name of it, right? All right, so anyways, I don't know. I don't know. We don't have a name for this piece. Maybe it's, just the, ginormous scene. Turquoise, well, we don't want to call it Caribbean. That's the Caribbean blue right in here. See that right in there? See that greenish tinge right there? That's the Caribbean blue from Marvy. There's that cloud area up there. I think this lake, it would probably be the name for this piece would probably be more about that lake, wouldn't it? This piece right here, I almost think it's almost more effective when we look at it in halves like this. Here's like, that'd be like one scene like that. I mean, I don't know, that ends abruptly right there. I would darken it in over there, but see, this is like how it would look, as an 8.5 by 11 like that. And then here's the other 8.5 by 11 right here, like that. And then you have that. So we should fold it in half, so people can see it, and make it a folded card like that. Let's see what this looked like in the back. That's not too bad. I thought this would be all kind of smudgy with all that ink that was all over the place. Huh. That looks shockingly clean on the back, like that. Turquoise Tranquility. Hey, I think that might be a pretty good one right there. The Lake of Many Names, yeah. Very well. One of the things that I named the original thing was like varying something dimension. I don't know what it was called, but yeah. Just a Dream, Turquoise Tranquility. I always liked alliterations for that. I might name it that. Yeah, TT, Turquoise Tranquility. PJB Stamper, good name. It's the Lake of Many Names, yeah. What we see what we want to see, Thanks, Jen. I'm glad you like it. Bog of Never-Ending Stench. We'll do that one on another time. I think that would probably be one of those things that I really enjoy doing, because it would be this really murky looking kind of a scenario, color scenario. So Mystic Expansion. Interesting. This almost looks like, I like that for that name, for that portion up top. So it's like this thing up here has a different name than down here, almost. I think, you know, I think I can use, I think I might stamp in a couple of the, of these bare trees, like right in the background here. Because that almost looks like, it looks like a separate scene up there. That could be like this, like a really big slimline card, like a 17-inch slimline up there. Wouldn't that be cool? You know, with like a, you know, like a word stamp. I don't know. And maybe it's, I didn't leave room for a word stamp, but it seems like that's something like that with, you know, some kind of quote, like right in here would be kind of be cool. And down in here, I don't know. We didn't really leave room. I wouldn't center a quote down in something like that, but yeah. Tranquility Bay, that's cool too. You can hang a full moon in it. Yeah. Okay, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out and bearing with me in the finishing of this piece. I would have finished it yesterday, but I had to run. But I don't know, maybe you know, we all needed somewhat of a break. Like I said, this is like 8 pieces right here, you know. So I don't remember the 11x17s lasting that long, but they weren't live streams, so I was just recording, and I don't remember how long it took. And I probably added more colors to this one, and I wasn't doing things like light beams at the time. So, you know, you kind of tend to keep, if you find something that you like to do, you tend to keep incorporating it in with, you know, future pieces like this. So it's little things like having those light beams and adding in those extra little highlights along the, you know, the path of those beams. That's really fun to do. So yeah, do you see those trees are being illuminated by those beams in there? So those are the little tiny little details that I really like in incorporating in with the pieces. You know, then I've kind of figured it out a little bit. Yeah, this beam right here is almost invisible at this point in time. But yes, good night, everyone. Thanks so much for checking out the videos and always joining in. It makes these videos much funner for me. I wouldn't have, you know, been thinking about the $100,000 bar without you. And all those other ones, you know, peanut versus plain M&Ms, right? Always fun stuff. Always keeps it interesting and whatnot. Yeah. Okay, so hey, there's these other pieces right here. You know, my next coloring, my next video live stream should be just coloring this piece right here. So instead of like 3 hours, it's like, you know, it's like coloring this one's like 30 seconds. Good night, everyone. But I think this one might be next right in here. I really want to do that interweaving of the light coming through this one right here. I've done it before, you know, but I don't know. I want to try a different color scheme on this one or something like that. But I love, you know, having those beams come into this this kind of lighting area like that. It's just so much fun around the waterfalls and stuff like that, and having those waterfalls illuminated. And plus, you know how I love to add in things like Dr. Martin's bleed-proof white, so splashing it down on the terrain down here, because the waterfall gives me an excuse to do it. It's just a lot of fun. So I don't know, maybe do it like nighttime type of scene with like moonbeams coming through here, and then we can do like little illuminated fireflies or something like that in there, you know, some green paint pen and whatnot, you know, and we'll make them glow with the white pigment ink or something like that. So I don't know if I've done that one, but I don't know if I've done this waterfall scene with you know, at nighttime before. I'll have to go and see. But yes, the next time. All right, so yes, enjoy your holiday, everyone. If I don't see you before then, playing M&Ms anytime. I think that's what I always used to do too. But I don't know. I like peanuts now too, though. Now, if there was almond M&Ms, you know, that'd be a complete no-brainer for me, I think. But oh, I was gonna say, I got this email today. If anyone's interested, if you're not like on the mailing list for Shutterfly, you might be. It might not just be for people on the mailing list, but I think there was. I don't know. It was like crazy. It was like 250 prints for free, but you just pay shipping and handling or something like that. So if you want to print out a bunch of the like the cloud backgrounds for photo stamping or something like that. So it was like I don't know. It was like a gazillion 4x6 prints free, or there was like two 8.5 by 11s, or I don't know. There's a couple other sizes in there too. I think 4x4s as well. So I don't know. I might look into it and order more of those cloud backgrounds. Okay, CJ, you sent me a list of the stamps you have on hand. Would you be able to put together a live stream for us? What do you mean, based on the stamps that you have, CJ? I could. I've been wanting to do more of the stamp sketch style videos too, so I don't know if there's anything in particular. If you tell, I don't know how many stamps you have, CJ, but we can put together some, you know, different compositional ideas for you, for sure. Let me know what you'd want it on in terms of the surface, you know, matte, cardstock, glossy, foil, or something like that. Yeah. Let me know. Probably not 11 by 17. You know, yeah, maybe no 11 by 17s. Not at least in the near future. That is a lot of coverage to do in there. Although I really like it now. The more I look at this 11 by 17, the more I like it. Yeah, but again, you know, it's what do you do with it? You know. I don't know. Maybe I should follow my advice and see if there's something. I've never framed a single one of my pieces before in my life, and you know, and hung it up and displayed it. You know, because I'm usually I'm on to the next thing, and I just kind of forget about it, like, you know, like tomorrow. So, yeah. Hello, not afraid of color. We're just starting off here. No, we're just winding it up. So, the final piece here is all colored and. Most of what we did in here were kind of the special effects today, so a little bit of alcohol inks, but a lot of pigment ink and paint pens in here. So, yeah, I was just telling them I'm kind of this 11 by 17 is growing on me a little bit more looking at it. Not that I disliked it before, but I don't know. I needed more variety in terms of the textures in here, and like a stronger focal point. So. I don't know. I don't know. I think I don't know. I'm just not used to looking at something this big, you know, for me either. So usually I have these very distinctive little things like that, and this one just doesn't have it. So maybe that's just it. I'm just not used to, you know, having that on like that. Auction it off. Do I hear 50 cents? Uh-oh. Oh, wait. Yes, glossy, send it to the address I can find on your page. Yeah, send me a list at stampscapes@gmail.com and I'll get it, okay? Or you can just, you know, if you don't remember that, put, you know, there's the, you know, the contact us link on the website, or Kevin@stampscapes.com. I get the Gmail, it's a little bit more, I get both things, but once in a while I was having problems with that stampscapes.com thing, so I just changed it to the Gmail one. So yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, you said glossy. Okay, we'll do some compositions on glossy, and you want it on the quarter page pieces, or something like that, or we can do slimline. The slimline. I need to do more bookmarks too. Every time, you know, someone does bookmarks and posts them on Facebook, man, I love those bookmarks. You know, those thin, you know, I don't know, whatever, 1.5 by whatever, 5 inches. You know, those ones are always really cool. Those are some of my favorite compositions that people do. Those super elongated pieces. Yeah, what? Yeah, we can do with scenes that we had. Yeah, sure, okay, you know, something like that. How much would it cost to even mail off something like this? You know, that'd definitely be in the oh, the bag of the peanut M&Ms. I think that's the winning size right there. Yeah, yeah, Google. I know. I secured that Stampscapes at Gmail really early on. I said I don't want someone grabbing that one. You know, so good thing Stampscapes isn't a real word. You know, so yeah, it wasn't gone, but I think I grabbed it like, I don't know, whenever it was, whenever Google, you know, was kind of coming around, or, you know, everyone had Hotmail and kind of Yahoo addresses. So, but the Gmail, I thought, okay, they're going to be around for a while, so I better grab that quickly. Is that a, oh, did someone bid 50 on this one? 1601. People are, what do you call that thing where you bid over the top of it, like a penny or something like that, like in the last minute right there? CJ, are you having some problems? I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun. I hope it doesn't. I don't know. I hope you're able to do a lot of the things that you're still able to do, though. You know. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Hope you get a reprieve from that pain there. That's no fun. I know that. It can interfere. Snipe. Yeah. Sniper. I think people are. It looks like a. Are people getting a autocorrect here? Sniper, sniped, sniping. I don't know. Maybe I should put some of these larger format pieces up. I should put all my pieces up on like eBay or something like that. I need to spray seal all these things too. I always felt kind of strange about selling it in my originals, because when you work in dye-based inks, you know, these pieces really aren't, they're not configured for like display very much, because these inks are going to be a lot more, like we talked about it in the stream, right? The light fastness rating, they're not really meant to be or designed to be like on display, because you know, they'll fade out. So, you know, you don't want to sell someone something to someone, and then it doesn't look like, you know, let's say they put it up and it doesn't look like, you know, what they remember it looking like 6 months from there, if it's really exposed to a lot of light. So you just have to like it for what it is, and, you know, keep it in storage. You'd have to just like look at it whenever you want to look at it or something like that. Yeah. Auto incorrect. That's funny. Right there. I guess if anyone won this or got this, you can name it yourself, but I already forgot the name of it, the alliteration one. What did someone say? It was Turquoise Tranquility, wasn't that it? Something like that? Or did I just make that up? Oh, yeah. Yeah, the autocorrect on the phone, yeah. There were certain, now see, when I'm typing in Stampscapes, in a lot of things, my computer doesn't autocorrect it anymore. I don't know if it just, but it always breaks it up into two. It's a stamp and then like scapes or something like that, or it just changes the words. So that was always a problem for me. Oh, you would use it for inspiration. That's good. One of the things about these originals, too, that you can really see, on one of these things, you might even like it more like on screen, but, you know, when you see these originals like this, you can see, you know, when you're looking at it real close up, you can see all these really distinct areas like that from a textural standpoint. But that's what I always say, you know, you kind of look at it, and as you're working on it, you know, you want to keep in mind that kind of the viewing distance is going to be like that. So, I hope you wouldn't get this something, someone would get this something like this and say, oh my God, this is ugly. you know, where it's like all these little, it's like, it's crawling with, like illuminated termites or something like that all over your pieces. Although I do send out some originals with a lot of the orders and whatnot, just because, and sometimes, a lot of times, well, I don't know, maybe about half the time, someone will say, oh, looking at the original, I can see, the different applications, or, oh, okay, some kind of different touch or something like that. It makes sense to them more because, it has a much more, it's just much more visible, on the original like that. Specifically those types of applications like that. Silent Lucidity. Wow, that would be a interesting name. I like that. Yeah. Oh, the vintage feel. Yeah, it would have that more vintage feel, but it would have that more vintage feel in terms of, it wouldn't age correctly though with a lot of these things, It would have, maybe if it was up like forever, but it would just, I think a lot of this, like all that violet up there, like that would be gone. Okay, that would disappear first, and like this little subtle little swoosh of warmth and purple right in here, that would be the thing that if you put this original on display, those things would disappear like that. And then I think the warmth of that turquoise area around it there, I think that would disappear. And the last thing that would be more visible, this would be blue, but this in here would look blue, but it would probably look more like this blue. That's what I'm guessing, okay? In terms of that, even though a lot of this is Memento ink on there, but I'm just not quite sure how light fast that would really be in there. So, and then I used a lot of the alcohol. Has anyone put their Copic marker pieces where they've used like all Copic markers? Have any of you put something like that out in display? Because I don't think those are light fast either, right? People are getting more inspired the more you look at it, because I'm seeing some good titles right here. I like that, Untouched by Man. Oh, let me see. Wait, what was that song name? Silent Lucidity. By who? Is that Not Afraid of Color? That's a good song title. A Boneyard. Can you do something dark soon so I know how to do that better? I would love to do that, Kay. I've been wanting to do, I was showing people that Tombstone, that Cricket Tombstone, so I was already thinking about doing something like that, but yeah. What did they ask you to do? Just, that was like the request there, or did they mention anything else? System of a Down. Huh. I'll have to look that one up. It's an intriguing name. The blue stays and everything disappears. I think in this case it would. Michelle, yeah. Yeah, the light, the blue would have the... I think it was, I don't know, people, someone else might know this more, but I thought the blue had the longest wavelength. So I think it would have the longest potential, whatever, just the longevity in terms of the light exposure, I'm guessing. Okay, that's what I was wondering. I thought the Copics would fade too. I don't think there's anything... any of those Copics that would really, just there's certain types of media that, like I said, they're just more kind of geared towards, I don't know, like comps or something like that, than in pieces for display. Unless someone had like Like a UV glass, but I mean that UV glass I don't think is something that prevents it. It just kind of retains it better than like a non-UV glass. But a non-UV glass would also be darker. Yeah, which would be fine with this piece. I'm starting these light beams in here too are they're looking better to me now. I think they're drying out a little bit. Like this one right here, they're really subtle. Like see this right here. Here's the beam right here. Yeah, right here. I like this. I thought there was, yeah, there's another one right up here. So these beams are looking better to me. See, this thing's like drying now. It's kind of mellowing out a little bit. And then, when you spray seal it too, it'll look a little bit different too. Those beams won't be quite as prominent because if you spray seal this, the translucent pigment ink gets a little bit more transparent. So I have to be careful about when I spray this too, that I don't spray on too heavy a coating. So you spray it in the areas where you'll benefit from that boost in both intensity and value, i.e. the water areas where there's all that glazed tones, but you want to be careful around in this area here where that would stand to potentially disappear when you spray it. So, System of a Down, that's even a good name for the band there. Queensryche. What? Wait, is that? Oh, they both sing that too? Okay. Oh yeah, my sister wants a CSI body research yard where they check the decomp. Oh, I've seen those places. Those are fascinating. Body research. They're checking the exposure for yeah. There's some area. There's been a lot of news stories on that. I watched that before. It's kind of interesting. It helps in the investigation and of these, I don't know, whatever, found, bodies and whatnot to determine, like, the time of death and so on and so forth. Yeah. So they want... is that... Her sister is interested in that, so she wants her to stamp something out. Hey, can you stamp out... Well, I can't help her with the decomposition of the bodies, although I do have a couple skeletons, It would be more of a whimsical type of... application for me of something like that. See, I'm going to stamp something like that out, and I gotta explain to people, hey, I would probably do that anyways, but I'd have to explain that for people that, okay, I'm doing this by request, so, I don't know, don't be too alarmed, okay? This is I'm stamping this for science. So I'm doing these like bodies kind of half covered in like soil or something like that, or whatnot. So we can do something like that, yeah. Drowning pool, what's that in reference to? I think we have a body farm. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, people donate that. Does everyone know what we're talking about, So we talk about kind of like decomposing bodies and, M&M's Peanuts versus Plain in this on this channel and these videos here. All within the same video, by the way. Okay, with some chalks and the colors ran together. Yeah, we got to be careful about that, CJ. We have to do... yeah, like chalks are one of those things where you can really lose the light on dark too. So you give it that light spraying where it just touches the page, but you don't have enough of that spray sealant built up where it can puddle. So it dries almost immediately when it touches the surface like that. Okay, and you allow it to dry like for 10 seconds or something like that. It doesn't take too long. Then you hit it again, and then just allow that to lay down on that, and do that like 2 or 3 times, okay, where it's like the acrylic just has 0 time to influence the surface. And then when you get it reasonably sealed off, then you hit it with a little bit of a thicker, even coating on that, and then you won't have to worry about the acrylic the solvent in the acrylic putting the media that we've used back into solution and then influencing it. I mean, some people utilize that, like illustrators or something like that. They utilize that for specific effects, but with us, and making cards, I don't think most people like that. So, I know someone that did layers of acrylic spray. They'll spray, the painting, and then they'll put more oil paints or whatever over the top of it, and then they seal that in. So they might do that like 5 times. So you get these suspended layers of different media within there, and it has all kinds of different textures that they normally wouldn't have achieved just with a direct application of that media to whatever surface they were doing, a canvas or a panel or something like that. So it was always pretty interesting. Yeah, science is cool, but it definitely can be macabre. Yeah, do it in October. Oh, I'll do it with my skeleton hands or something like that, because that's not supposed to be me stamping. I put a different name under those ones anyways. Yeah. I'll do it. Not only a banner running across the bottom of the video, but it'll be a disclaimer right in the beginning of it. Yeah. And I'll just go back to the non-picture-in-picture one. It'll just be hands right here, I'll say it wasn't me, and they'll say, well, whoever's doing that has that same scar right on your wrist there. I'll flip-flop the video. So now I'll say, no, someone had that on their right hand, and I have that on my left. Yeah. Oh, a foot by that tree would be good. I was thinking about that as you were saying that. I was thinking about that that scene that I just did with the tree there. Yeah. Hairspray. Yeah. Hairsprays work great. We used hairsprays for all of the chalk and dry pastel pieces in the middle school program that I was volunteering for, the art program there. And then we've also used hairspray in at some workshops that I used to go to. The people that knew I was, the owner of the store knew that I like to spray seal my pieces, so she went out and got some hairspray. I got a couple cans of it or whatever. So as soon as everyone was done with their pieces, the owner or whatever would take all of the class participants' pieces out, and they just hit it with the hairspray right outside, and it, then they look really good because they're just, these crystalline, coatings over the top of their pieces, And then also with hairspray, instead of using, if we were spray sealing 40 pieces, you don't get that spray of the, like, Krylon kind of, filling up the store. They were spraying it outside the store, but, they were fine with the, the hairspray smell. Instead of, I don't know, whatever, Krylon. Krylon's gonna, like a crystal clear. They're going to come out with some kind of like a, all new scented, fresh, scent. It's going to be like pina colada or something like that. All right, goodbye. Happy, M. Malin. Happy 4th of July. Yes, everyone stay safe this weekend. Hold on to your dogs and everything like that. I don't know. I don't know if the sealant's almost the same. I guess, in terms of a hold, right? I gotta think hairspray, though, is water soluble, where I think the acrylic spray probably isn't. I don't know. I'm guessing, right? Because you got to be able to wash it out of your hair with water. So I'm guessing that it probably has some other type of aspect to it, just in terms of the water solubility aspect of it. I don't know, Not afraid of color. Goodbye. Good night. Speaking of that, yeah, with essential oils. So what about this? They'll come out with the Krylon acrylic spray. It's going to be a UV resistant clear for your artwork or hair, Yeah, hold on to those pets. Bring those pets inside, I don't know. Put some earphones. They need earbuds for pets or something like that, or ear those, I don't know, having some headphones on pets would drive them nuts too, but I don't know. Maybe they can make like a cat helmets or something like that. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Happy 4th if I don't see you before then. I don't know, to me, just in terms of whatever, it's almost like a regular... The one thing about 4th of July for me is that mail doesn't pick up on Monday. So, I don't know, maybe we'll see you guys on. But, as we always say, these live streams are always available for replay too, so you didn't miss anything except for the lively live conversations and joining in about these dynamic topics that tend to come up. All right, great live stream. For anyone else that's on or might have been joined in or whatnot, thanks for joining in too. And yeah, if you have anyone has any questions about anything that has come up on these vids or whatnot, drop me a note, an email or whatnot, and we'll get them answered. But we're doing a piece. I guess I'll be doing another video on some compositions around some of the images someone has. I'll try to combine them and whatnot into some compositional ideas for them. And then I know, what do you call that? What do you call that yard? Something that investigative research lab for corpses. That's one of the most unusual requests I've ever had. So I don't know. Always interesting. Always love that type of thing. Yeah. All right, so everyone, good night, good morning, good afternoon, of whatever time it is for you.